All right.
I'm wondering if I can find it in the Slack channel.
Yeah, it's been changed.
I knew that. Risky business.
Oh my
Capital
goodness.
R, capital B.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, wait. We have Annex Public with the password.
Hello, friends.
Are we live?
Yes, in a minute.
Excellent. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Hey, this is our first time doing this. Welcome to a very self-indulgent panel jumper episode. And social distance edition. CDC requirements compel us. This is why we are sitting so far away from each other. My name is Ben Laurance. I am the co-producer and the director of the panel jumper. With me is...
I'm Cole Hornaday. I am the writer, curator, co-producer, and bottle washer.
Bottle washer.
Chief bottle washer? No, I'm an apprentice bottle washer for now.
I'm Mike Gilson, actor in the series and just general cheerleader. Yeah.
Totally.
Yes, an actor in the series. All right, so what we're doing today is we are going to be watching every single panel jumper episode that we've produced, that is 9 full issues and 2 specials. We've done a bunch of other content, but we're not going to be here all night to watch that. We're just going to watch the stuff that we've put a lot of hard work into and
Over
a lot
the
of our
last
time.
6 years.
Over the last 6 years, and we'll go through that timeline
Yeah.
as we start. But because we got a late start, we appreciate you joining us. The chat is open. I'm looking at you. If you have any questions for us, I will convey them to the panel here. But let's get started with this, shall we?
Hey Ben, before
Yes.
we rock and roll, do we want to talk about the genesis of the web series and how that came together?
Over the next 2 hours and 10 minutes, I'm sure we will find plenty of time to talk about that
I'm
kind
a
of
beginning,
thing.
middle, and end kind of person, and since this is the beginning, I just thought we'd start because that's the beginning is always a fine place to start.
All right. And also, you guys, you people out there watching us.
Wow.
I know it's I'm trying. Everybody watching us, please, if you want us to be louder, us to be quieter, if the background volume needs to be louder or quieter, let us know in the chat on YouTube. In the meantime, let's start this shindig, shall we? That's the first accidental swear. Yeah, I
Let's start
guarantee
this
you.
ding-ding.
I guarantee you that is going to happen more than once. All right, let's do this. So there are Cole's monster feet
Those are my swampy feet.
at a Green Lake.
Yeah,
that was
at Green Lake at dusk.
that was our very first shoot. You and I spent a fun evening in your apartment, building those.
Guys,
with all
it's
that
me.
moss.
It's me.
Yep. We don't want to ruin Mike's moment here.
Say again?
Yeah, we're just gonna sit here and watch it quietly
Yes.
with everybody
Oh,
else.
gosh,
Please.
No.
All right.
Heads or tails, what you're saying. But
Can y'all hear this okay?
Let me check.
No? Look, I'll cut you a special deal. Pennies on the pound. I'll even loan you my...
So the roaring of the monster is actually me.
Uh-huh.
Oh look, and there's our first shot of Cole.
That's right.
And he's out of focus. The first shot of our hero, and
Never
he's
even
out of
noticed.
focus. Oh, I can't
ruin the illusion.
not notice it. And
Yeah.
there are actually shots of you in focus.
Yes.
But I felt the performance on this one was better, so I decided to make it look bad for me
That's
instead of for
interesting.
you.
I didn't need to know that at all. So yeah, the mossy arms. That's John, right?
John McKenna, yeah.
Yeah, John McKenna is our swamp monster arms. I was the feats. But yeah, I messed up my apartment. Ben got a turtleneck. Like an Eddie Bauer turtleneck from the thrift store, and we hot glued moss all over it and covered my apartment with it. So the genesis of this episode and kind of the series is that Ben came up to me, and like I think it was the fall of 2014, and said, I have this idea. I would like to do this web series. So many other people are doing these all the way to the rivets inside baseball style web series about things that they are passionate about, but I know nothing about comics. And he said, I'd like you to take a look at this series called Alton Brown's Good Eats. And I'm like, I'm not a foodie. He's like, it doesn't matter. It's a fascinating show. And he was absolutely right. So Ben's pitch to me was, let's do Alton Brown's Good Eats, but with comics. And that has become kind of part of our branding language over the last couple of years.
So one publisher's premeditated rip
Yeah,
of the other is just not
Good Eats
right.
was actually one of my favorite shows,
why
and
bother?
I've told
It's
people
not like
that
swamp meat were a hot commodity
if
in the
Cole was into
1970s.
trains and
No,
not comic
there's
books,
something
we'd be
far more
making a show about trains
significant
right
in
now.
the synchronicity of Swamp Dude's debut.
But the-
Engineer Mike.
But the thing is, this, truth be told, this episode wrote itself. The connection between DC's Swamp Thing and Man Thing as archetypes in comics, that had been percolating in the back of my brain. So when Ben said, hey, do you have an idea for our pilot episode? I think I sat down and wrote it within less than a week, because those ideas were already there. I was familiar with the Heap from the Airboy comic stories that were the reboot of Airboy from Eclipse in the 80s, and it really wrote itself. That has not been the case as we've progressed. It's been a real challenge for me to research, to trust my judgment, my intuition, but also to reach out to more and more people to be part of our collaborative process. But this one was straight out of Cole's back pocket. Mike, I'm talking an awful lot.
So
That's all right.
this episode, which we call Issue 1, Muckman Mania, it was first released on March 26, 2014.
Not
So-
1914?
2014, March 26th, so just a
a
couple days over 6 years ago.
Yep.
Wheelbarrow, anyone?
Crazy.
And there's my favorite leather coat.
Yeah. So yeah, we asked John McKenna to come in and be the hands of a swamp monster. He had no idea what we were doing, but
Nope,
he was
he was totally happy to be supported.
One can argue that the template for
And
the
I'm wearing my Rick Veitch Dr. Blasphemy Brat Pack T-shirt. This is the second one I've had in my lifetime. Rick was actually still selling them off his website, which was a glorious thing because I wore my first one from the 80s until it was shreds. Either that or an ex-girlfriend got away with it. I can't remember.
Hey, look, it's a prop comic.
It is a prop. No, that's a real comic I actually have, for reals.
We've actually stopped doing the on-screen dictionary because I figured, our audience is.
No, you did it with Rob Dignagian.
We have a smart audience. Well, I didn't even know what that word meant.
So is that what it's all about? It's like it has to be a word that you don't
I
know.
figure if I don't know, everybody else does, but I want to be safe.
I was also kind of curious. Is like, I think in this initial one we'd had like upcoming. You'll see there's a bunch of like actual comic book panel type things, and we kind of lost that motif along the way, didn't we?
Yeah, it's funny because I recently went back and rewatched all these episodes. I spent, it's all 2 hours worth.
Oh, that was you.
And
all the way back.
yeah, Cole keeps track.
I do.
Keeps track of
I
all
keep
our-
I keep count because I have a fragile ego.
and I was looking at all the like the clever things that I did as far as effects go, and I'm like, wow, I've gotten lazy.
Well, I got to tell you though, I'm not going to say lazy. I would just like you to come back to these things because I remember watching this for the first time. I really didn't know what to expect. I really didn't know what you were going to do with it. I knew your work.
Can I give you a secret?
What?
I didn't know either.
What?
Well, and as we've worked together over the years, I realized that the best thing I could do to be supportive of you in a lot of cases is just let you run. Let you run creatively with your visuals, with whatever your choices you're going to make. But when I saw the animations that you had done and the cuts, I'm like, You know, Ben is a really extraordinary, gifted filmmaker. He knows what he's doing, and I don't need to have my hands in any of this. I will write the scripts. I will get in front of the camera. I will try to tame my insecurities and not talk too fast, and I'm going to let Ben do the rest of the stuff.
Well, there's the panel motif.
Yeah.
I like the panel motif.
We should bring it back next time.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the problem. I don't want to just like reuse stuff, but we gotta acknowledge
Raymond
We
Williams.
have to acknowledge
Raymond Williams.
Leroy.
Yeah, this is I think he's been in 5 of them.
He's been in every one of them but 1 or 2.
I guess I didn't notice.
Our
him in
plan
some
was
of
to
them.
have Ray in every one of them because we adore him that much. But there were times where he just didn't, fit into the story, or we tried to do bottle episodes where it's just you and me.
Yeah.
And Ray didn't really fit in there unless we were going to do a Hitchcock thing like in Lifeboat where they put him in the newspaper or something. And I just didn't want to go that kind of trouble. Do you get the Hitchcock reference?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's that?
You see this beard? How much gray's in this thing?
Oh, well, dude, don't talk about gray in the beard.
You win. I know.
Or the tire that expands around the midriff as we move through the episodes. I'm like looking at this going, wow, okay, it's still got the same glasses, Cole.
So this is back
man.
when Comics Dungeon sold T-shirts.
Yes.
I'm kind of sad because I wish I would have been able to buy a T-shirt from them.
But T-shirts became a big part of how I participate in the panel jumper storytelling. I get a different T-shirt for every web episode we shoot, and then with the live shows, which came down the road, I always got a new T-shirt for that. And my apartment is a fragile ecosystem, and I don't have room for that much crap. So I started giving them away to people, and I hope that's like a point of honor and pride. Wow, we done already?
Yeah, one down.
Oh.
It's just
time to
wrapping
go.
up. Yeah.
Wait,
It is
gotta
the
give
prop-
thanks.
It is the prop comic.
Boom.
So yeah, you told the story about how I gashed my finger during that first
No, we
episode.
didn't. It was off. So
Oh,
Ben
okay.
Laurance. So how did you do that?
It was a screw sticking into the trunk of my car.
Right.
And we were at Green Lake and we were shooting, and I reached into my trunk of my car and I ripped my finger open. Fortunately, I carry a first aid kit in my trunk, and so I was able to wrap up my finger and we were continue.
My first question to Ben
Yeah.
was, have you had a tetanus shot? So now we're on to episode 2.
Yeah.
On episode 2, this episode, Iron Curtain Maiden, was released on July 18th, 2014.
And this all came from, the whole inspiration for this came from a book I picked up at a used bookstore in Eugene, Oregon, when I was going to school there. And I drug it around with me.
Quick note: that's a Rocketman poster, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, there's the first appearance of A.J. Epstein, one
Yeah.
of the Panel
Yeah.
Jumper fans.
But I did not ever read the book about Octobriana that this whole episode is about.
This is also the first instance of using the green room at Annex Theater for a number of different locations.
Oh man,
And
so many
these-
times.
And I am so proud of this prop, the glasses with the black band.
And we really ran with that with this episode.
Yeah.
They kind of look like VR headsets.
Yeah, but I think most people got the gag.
This is our first appearance with James Weidman, who we've brought back numerous times.
Yeah,
as well.
James.
Yeah, you'll notice we have
We have a stable of actors we like.
Kendra
to
Hayes.
and Kendra. I'm actually. I actually am hoping that for the 11th episode I can get Kendra back for that.
Oh, cool.
I haven't told her that yet. I just wrote the first draft of that one. So this one, Octobriana and the Russian Underground. I drug this book around with me for decades.
What was he? Did he was he walking toward the door and then turned around?
I like it was a green screen shot when he was facing the door, and so I like the idea that he was just up against it, like tucking right into the glass, because that's kind of what it looked like with that cut there. So here's our friend Tracy Lee as
Yeah.
Octobriana.
Is she coming up?
She is coming up.
There she is.
I bought that bottle of vodka specifically for that shot because it was in Russian.
So the other cool
I think
thing,
we used that at Annex for quite some time. Yeah.
this was not the first time, but no, it was the first time, but not the last, where our episode actually connected us to someone else in the nerd sphere of the world who was equally fascinated by the subject matter. So, oh man, we didn't even talk about John Boylan for the last one.
That's all right. There's only so much time, man.
We're not going to start over.
Let's go back and talk about John Boylan.
This is also, we got a bunch of supporters of the show guest starring here.
So, when we get to the end, I'll point
Shoppers.
this out, but I don't think we had a better casting opportunity than put Tracy Lee in that monster wig.
She had told me that she worked really hard on her accent,
Yes,
and
she
I
did.
really appreciate people putting in the effort for our little show.
So at the Gregory Awards for many, many
Subtle
years,
dig.
Tracy and I would always get a picture together. We would do our Boris and Natasha picture because she towers over me so in such an extraordinary way. So every time we're at the I have like 4 or 5 pictures of just she and I standing there looking Russian and stoic, and we call those our Boris and Natasha pictures.
What's found in these panels barely
So,
qualifies as PG-13.
this is episode 2. Oh, and if you look at the subtitles, the way that kind of disappears with Kandra, I was influenced a lot by the movie Night Watch. If you've never seen the movie Night Watch, it's a Russian vampire movie, and they do a lot of clever things with the subtitles.
I have both of them, and I've read all the first 3 books. There's like 6 books now. But
I
yeah.
don't know how many.
Yeah, no, they did some really cool thing with subtitles in that. And in Let the Right One In, they do some cool things with the subtitles in that too.
So I'd like to point out that Ray Williams as Billy Idol, he's got
great.
Tracy Williams fake tattooed on his arm.
Tracy
Lee.
Sorry, Tracy Lee. That's actually a visual effect of.
I can't believe you did that. That just when I saw that, I just was my mind kind of split open and dripped out. I just thought that was so beautiful.
Hire Ben
Plus
for all your
Ray's.
video editing needs.
Oh, and
Let's again sing the praises to Ray Williams.
the music underneath the Billy Idol segment became the eventual theme song for the Perfect Bound podcast.
No way.
Yeah, that was the
Really?
same music.
I was actually going to ask about the music for this, like where'd that come from? Intro for this panel jumper.
The intro music to the panel jumper.
Yeah.
Well, the intro music to the panel jumper is actually a composition by Michael Hayes, our friend.
If you were in possession of
Okay, so I am holding. What was I holding? A basketball?
You're holding a gym ball,
A
like
gym
those
ball,
rubber,
yeah.
like green rubber balls.
And Ben's like, okay, just hold it like this, and I'm gonna map the Earth onto it. I'm like, yeah, the heck you are. And we come back and we look at this, and this is just all exquisite. This just these stills.
There's our
with
friend Jamie Roberts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie Roberts as the San Francisco comic artist Trina Robbins.
Trina
She was-
Robbins.
she was actually, we were in the comic book store, and I think someone, either Denny or Gilson, held up a green sheet behind her.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
just had her go through a bunch of these motions, and then I took out some stills. Look at the way that subtitle disappears behind Cole.
Clever.
Are you fishing? Are you fishing here, pal?
No, I'm never fishing.
Let's
I
check
never
the
want you to tell
YouTube
me
feed.
how good I am.
Okay, well that's too bad because I'm going to continue to do it.
How's our volume been?
Our volume good. We haven't had any complaints about the volumes yet, except that I was quiet, so I've turned my volume up, much to the chagrin of
there we go.
I'm sure everybody else. That's actually Bohunel, Koneska, and Zenik Burian. That's actually their pictures down in the corner there.
My friend Kaja helped me with the pronunciation of all these characters' names. We were sitting in Solo Bar, and she texted her, or she called her mom to help with because Kaja's Polish, and I wrote things down phonetically so I could pronounce things correctly. No one ever corrected me on that. We get corrections later. We get a lot of corrections later.
This
but-
this will serve as our mea culpa commentary too, because we do make a lot of mistakes in the show. And those are Webster Polk's hands holding those cards.
Yay,
He's a
Webster.
friend of ours who works as our boom operator.
We don't get to a really super bad boo-boo until we get to the Howard the Duck episode, I think. That's the one that embarrasses me. But
Yeah. This scene, I like. Cole looks like he's about to break at the very end of this monologue, because I make him do this long monologue, and we get to the end and you almost break, but you don't. I'm so proud of you for holding it together.
well, what I've learned and what I've expressed to Ben is that we really need to break up these chunks. It's my fault for writing them to be so lengthy, but Ben never stops and says, yeah, we should break that up. And there have been more and more times where I give myself permission to say, Ben, let's break this up. Because there's only so much wind in my portly little frame. What, buddy?
So we have Jenna Hutchison, Val Brunetto, Krista Borgers, and Katie McKellar were nice enough to come in and just play patrons of the store.
Just wander the shop
with
for a few
stars
hours.
on their foreheads.
So that look at my spiky hair.
It also gets very hot inside the comic book store when we shoot.
Yeah, 'cause it's after closing,
the
so
heat is escalated.
there's no AC in there. I remember in many of these shots, I had to are we filming yet? Hold on, let me dab my face with sweat, before we could actually film.
I feel bad because I actually had more people lined up. I had the line going so you can see Jen in the background there.
Yeah.
And that's all you can see, and she's still standing in line during this shot. I've
Did Jenna
learned a
ever
lot.
get a moment in this?
I've learned more about
People
respecting
management.
actors' times.
This was the first episode where I started really thinking about the world of the Panel Jumper and the world of Comics Dungeon and who lives there, because I love the idea that Octobriana now is the actual owner of the comic book store, and manager Mike answers to her, and that kind of determined how I started telling stories going forward. I started thinking about I'm actually world building here with the help of my friends.
We actually we bring Tracy Lee back as Octobriana for just a one small line.
Yeah.
Pardon me from the background.
I had a note about that later. Yeah.
So this I tried to have a motif for how to structure the credits, and it just got too busy there.
So what I want to say is that a gentleman who is an Octobriana scholar by the name of John A. Short is in the UK.
This bit here we just did impromptu.
Yep.
Yeah, right the night of filming.
There is a book called Octobriana and the Underground History that John Short wrote. I'm holding it in front of me if you can see this on the little corner. I'm in the footnotes. There's a little picture of me from the episode in the footnotes. But he goes through the whole history of Octobriana, and in the footnotes he has some snarky comments about our episode of what I got right. But that's not going to be a mea culpa because I didn't necessarily agree with him. But I was really grateful that John gave me this book, and that the book kind of supported my little addendum about open source characters. Now we're on to The Fall of Fu Manchu.
Yeah. So we had this idea to have each title be a clever pun or a play on words or whatever. And then when we got to this episode, I was just no, let's just give it a simple title.
I tried to come up with, and I also would try to write some little witty quip at the end of every one of them. And after a while, Ben was like, "No, Cole, you're forcing it.
And there's James Weidman again.
You're gonna keep bending it until it breaks, and you can give it up."
If I'm telling you you're forcing a joke, you're really forcing a joke.
Thanks, friend.
He is the expert at forcing
I want
jokes.
to sing the praises of James Weidman right now, because there are a couple of moments in this episode where we were going to have him just do it as a voiceover.
Right, I had a note about that. The scene coming up here, he ended up just memorizing it in under a minute or something.
He stepped out in the hall right here. This guy steps out into the hall. He says, "Can you?" And Ben is like, "Well, can you do this off book?" And bless his heart, James walks out in the hallway. He's like, "Give me a moment." Walks out in the hallway, comes back, word freaking perfect.
Jerk.
This is the moment here. Yeah, this is it right here.
Yeah. He wasn't going to be on screen here, but he memorized it before we got set up to shoot. So I'm like, all right.
And he had that glorious beard.
And he has that glorious beard. So he's playing.
Well, he's just an extraordinary actor.
He's playing Sax Romer, but he really shines as Dr. Frederick Wortham.
And he plays twice.
That's actually
two different episodes.
Well, and he will again.
Yeah.
He will again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a good
the next episode I'm writing, he's in it again. Yeah.
Panel Jumper trivia right there, everybody.
Yep. That's a good panel jumper drinking game. Every time we mention Dr. Frederick Wortham or the Senate Subcommittee on Juvenile Delinquency, take a drink.
Okay, T-shirt note. Here I'm wearing my Matt Wagner Mage T-shirt. No, it's not freaking Shazam. It's not Madman. And that's digital, right, buddy?
Those are
that's
fake books.
That's
Yeah.
those
wow.
aren't really there.
I
We actually
swore those
had
were real.
some books on the table, but it just looked pathetic.
Anyway, so I actually found this T-shirt online. It was another T-shirt that I wore throughout the 80s until it was perforated with holes, and I was so happy to get it again.
Speaking of costumes,
Yes.
I actually enjoyed the fact that like for the second episode, I didn't get a chance to bring that up. Was that like I decided to keep the same costume the whole time?
Oh,
Oh, I thought you decided that from the get-go.
No, I wore it the one time. I was going to wear the Team of Heroes T-shirt.
Yeah.
We knew that part, but then like the second episode, we were talking about costumes. I'm like, I think my manager Mike should always have the same outfit.
So, just for folks who are not familiar with Team Heroes and the T-shirt, do you want to talk about your T-shirt? Because I spent a lot of time talking about my T-shirt.
Well, that T-shirt was from the 2010 show Lecto issue #1 that Annex Theater did, and Cole himself designed the logo that I'm wearing.
Oh, but I wasn't fishing.
Oh, well,
But I do.
I caught a fish for you.
I do like the fact that manager Mike wears the same outfit because he is basically a cartoon.
Yes.
And so, and here we come to.
This is one of my favorite bits in all of the
Moses
Panel
Yim
Jumper episodes.
And Ryan Higgins.
This was extraordinary. We didn't know how we were going to pull this together. I knew that I wanted to have a reference to the Fu Manchu, or excuse me, the Master Kung Fu Marvel comic, and this is Ryan Higgins in the back doing his razor fist shtick.
So
But
great.
we didn't know how. we didn't know where we were going to find an actor in Seattle willing to do this. But Ryan said, "I think I know a guy," and Moses Christiansen came in, and
Moses Kim?
yeah,
Or-
Moses Kim, and he was absolutely perfect. Now, what you don't realize, gang,
Well, this is my satchel bag and my Malcolm Reynolds duster. Yeah.
excellent, is that Ryan and Moses are choreographing this as we shoot it.
Yeah, like moments
And
before.
Ben and I are like, we're dying of ecstasy and paranoia at the same time,
also super
because like, you know, Ryan would give Moses these moves and say, do this, do this, do this. We'd shoot it, and I don't think I don't think we wasted any freaking time.
No, it was Ryan was extraordinary with just like coming up with stuff.
Ryan is an extraordinary
Yeah.
actor and fight. He's truly one of my favorite actors in Seattle and one of my favorite human beings. But also, just like he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He knew how to keep the choreography. And Moses like followed him step for step.
Yeah.
And I cannot express my gratitude for these two artists enough. Now, go ahead, buddy.
We don't actually waste like everything they choreographed made it on to the episode.
Right.
Nothing was wasted.
Yeah, you
No.
see it on the movie screen or there in the store. Yeah.
So, I had actually never watched a Bruce Lee film in its entirety until I started researching this episode, and it was actually one of those things where I like truly relished it because I was like, yeah, I've been an idiot for not experiencing this, but oh my God, what a joyful experience to watch his films for the first time. I was a huge fan of Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. I love that film, but for some reason I'd never actually watched the film itself. Yeah, buddy.
The scene we just watched with you in your apartment, that is the first instance of a panel jumper reshoot. If you remember that, we shot in your apartment, and
I had
we realized there was a costume malfunction. So
there was not a costume malfunction. My hair was all springy. Because when I get nervous, I run my fingers through my hair. You probably noticed that with the Octobriana episode. And
here we have AJ Epstein and
yep,
Raymond
AJ,
Williams
and
again.
there's Ray is back.
Yay.
So
Is this the first time that we had AJ in the episode?
AJ was in
Oh, that's
episode
right.
number
That's
2.
right.
who is who in this one?
I don't know. I just introduced them. Can we run it back?
No, we can't run it back. We're gonna have to start from the beginning if something happens.
It's not how this works, Cole.
It was actually Roy Thomas's idea to incorporate Dr. Fu Manchu into your martial arts comic. Is that right?
Yeah. So anyway, this if you'll when we go out to a wide shot, the furniture we're using here is the same setup as we use for the Panel Jumper Live at West of Lenin.
That's right.
Ray's on the blue shades, which is
Wow.
an Annex mainstay,
Wow.
and the desk is just a desk that we have.
So
That desk has been around since I want to say it's the third episode of Team of Heroes in 2013.
You have the desk, yeah.
Yep.
So
It's been used in many Annex show.
AJ is not particularly. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm gonna actually disclose this. So, AJ is not an experienced pot smoker.
How dare you out him?
And I'm gonna out him because he didn't know how to smoke a bong.
He may have gotten better over time. This was filmed in. This was released in. What, 2015?
Oh, yeah,
January?
we didn't say that. Yeah, this,
January 16th.
Mike, you
January
actually,
16th,
you actually have notes?
Yes, Cole, I do my homework.
He and I have the same notes because that's
You're
what I did
awesome.
last
No,
night.
I was actually going to, I was not judging you. I was actually going to praise you.
I'm a consummate professional.
You are, and I love you, and you're marvelous.
So Cole,
Yeah.
are these actual words that the artist and writer of?
That's
you
a hard
extrapolating?
call, pal, because sometimes you and I would go back and forth and we would whittle down what they were saying. But the stories about, I think it was Starlin saying how racist Fu Manchu was, that's all real.
So Ray is Jim Starlin and AJ's Steve Englehart. Is that his name?
Yes.
All right.
Good job. Yeah.
Oh, we actually heard my voice on the show.
Yeah, it was the only time I had a note about that. It was the only time we hear Ben actually in the Panel Jumper series itself.
Actually, no, there's a second time when during the very last episode we get to.
Oh.
You hear my voice.
I want to throw out a little note here in that
Denny says manager Mike knows this stuff.
there's
That's right, Denny. Thank you.
that's all my stuff. That's all my shit up there.
Mom, if you're listening.
No, Mom doesn't care.
Yeah, that's the convenient thing about shooting at Annex is we just use stuff from around the theater, and so the
Yeah.
display for the comics there is actually the postcard
So
display we have in the lobby.
Yeah.
I talk about Paul Glacis and his extraordinary artwork, and this is all Paul's artwork here. Paul, my friend Steve Mattson apprenticed under Paul for many, many years, and Steve, actually, if you want to scroll back through our Perfect Bound podcast episodes, because I'm so fond of Steve and because I want his contribution to the comic book industry to be recognized, we did a whole interview with him over Skype. But for years, I thought that Steve had said Paul's name was pronounced Glacis. So that's my first mea culpa here. And then years later, Steve said, no, it's Glacis. I'm like, oh my God, I can't win. All right, this was one of the, if there was ever an emotionally difficult scene to shoot for the Panel Jumper, this was it.
So this is Bruce and Brandon Lee's memorial at the Volunteer Park Cemetery, Lakeview Cemetery, I believe it's called.
That's right.
We knew they were there, but we didn't know where they were.
Right.
So Cole and I grabbed the camera and drove around, and once you saw the crowd, then you knew where the headstone
We actually asked people if they could step away from the gravesite so we could.
But like we wanted to be very respectful
yeah.
of people. So I think when we got there, we actually did wait for like the first wave to
Yep.
pass, and then we got.
And this is daily up there. This is daily on a. People come from all over the world to visit their graves.
And also, we wanted to get in and out really quickly because we didn't have permission to do this.
Gosh, no. But I was a fan of Brandon because I was a fan of The Crow, of J.O. Barr's Crow comic. And, he was killed shooting that film, and they released the film, and I'm not being ironic. I still adore the film. A lot of people think it's indulgent and gross, and that's fine. But when we walked up to the grave, after finally seeing Bruce's films, I really had a terrible, terrible time trying to keep it emotionally together and focus. And I really respected and appreciated the people who came the world over to come and mourn and put flowers at their graves, because both of these men gave so much. And I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah, it was. I'd never been there, and I'm glad we were there.
We got into Ben's car, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No."
Which is often your answer to me when I ask how you were doing.
Just a humorous anecdote, change of topic.
Yeah.
During the filming of this, Ryan's hands were actually taped into the
That's right.
things.
See, look, right there.
And
yeah.
there was a couple times during breaks, I had to help Ryan out with the game that he had been playing on his
That's
phone
right.
at the time.
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You helped him out with
Also,
game?
Yeah, he had a game going on his
He had a
phone,
game on his
and he had
phone,
to
he
do
was
certain
running.
things by certain times. And so he's like, yeah, just over to the right, just press that.
Moses is so perfect. He is so photogenic. Man.
Oh yeah, the ringtone for his phone.
Yeah. I regret not getting that Kazar t-shirt. Oh my goodness.
Wait, is this 250 Northeast 45th Street?
So 215 Northeast 45th. Is that the actual?
That was the
address of
old address.
Old
Where-
Comics Dungeon?
Yes, I remember us talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I can't believe we actually give the actual address of the store.
No, I'm right.
in the
Oh,
show.
why not?
It's not like a privacy thing. It's, it's better than like giving my address.
Plug the dungeon.
I like the little Star Wars reference here.
Yeah.
Sorry about the mess.
Oh, I love this part. I don't know how many takes this took right here. I kept cracking up every single time.
The sound effect is actually Ryan standing up. I didn't add anything.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that
He stood up so
that's
fast
Ryan.
and was so
That's-
in my face. It took
so
like
perfect.
9 times to
perfect.
Yeah,
film that.
Going back to earlier in the episode when he and Moses are talking and the lip sync is obviously off because we're doing an awful like English dub. What they were actually saying was so
Oh, man.
hilarious. I
Yeah.
couldn't hold the camera still.
Yeah.
That one was a blast to film.
Look at that blue watch in the background.
We don't do that anymore.
The store's clearly closed, everybody. Look.
Yeah, and so this is obviously a rip-off of the closing credits for the war. For what's the TV show? Not the Warrior.
Legend of Kung Fu?
No, it's Kung Fu.
Kung Fu.
Yeah. David Carradine's Kung Fu.
The David Carradine TV show.
Yep.
So yeah.
I credited Steve. Look at that.
All right. Now, so something I want to point out is that episode we just watched was released on January 16th, 2015. This
And then we
episode,
have a year gap.
You're skipping ahead. Issue 004, An Odd Duck, released more than a year and 3 months later on April 7th, 2016.
So in this very
had a bit of a
space-
break.
So this was the point. I'm going to get personal. This was the point where I thought that we were done with the series because I thought Ben was preoccupied with other things. He was bored. He didn't want to continue. We'd shot the episode, and I would pester him every couple of weeks, and it didn't. He was busy with other things.
I was talking to Gilson about this earlier.
Yeah?
Today. It was my fault. I was just super lazy because I had to schedule some voiceover sessions, and I just don't like scheduling people for things. It's one of my things.
Okay.
I don't like asking people to do things. But this is Justin
Get me to do
Eisen.
it.
This is Justin Eisen as Steve Gerber, who was such a sport. We asked him to come in and basically just look at comics for hours while we shot. He doesn't have any lines.
Nope.
Just stand
not a
and
lot of
frown.
action.
And actually, Justin is a really gifted illustrator.
Oh, yeah, we had a lot of guests for this one.
Yeah, we'd have a lot of guests.
Oh, man.
And I wanted to do puppets in this. I really wanted to do puppets. But I want to go back and talk about the inside baseball.
I'll say
in
my
this one.
fake sneezes were pretty awesome.
This was the episode where I was like a little bit dubious. Okay, sorry,
That's
Darian
Darian
Lindell.
Lindell?
Darian Lindell is writing the current episode with me because
Yeah.
I adore her. But
Where are you going, Cole?
my 50th birthday. My 50th birthday party. I didn't know.
yeah.
I didn't know when we were ever going to see this episode, and we were in this space, and Ben had actually put together a rough cut for my 50th birthday, and I was so drunk I don't remember watching the episode. But shortly hereafter, gang, is when we start doing the live show. And the live show is what put us on a calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had the live show every 6 months that we were doing, and that
Was
meant
this
that we
one
need.
done for the live show? For the very no, it was the next
We
episode.
screened this one. This was our first episode we screened at the live show, correct?
No, this
Boy
never,
Wonder
this never
Years
saw
was-
the light of day until it hit the internet.
Oh.
But
Wow,
this,
I'm so old, you guys. My
I
brain is
didn't think the episode 5 was the first one
By
we
the
did
by,
at the
I
live
love
show.
all these green screens right here, pal. These are just so beautiful.
Oh, here's the panel motif. Yeah,
yeah,
made a return.
just putting Cole into different comic book.
Okay, well,
panels.
after this, we started getting on a more regular schedule of creating a web episode to screen at the Panel Jumper Live.
Yeah.
That was my point.
Yeah. And when we get to that episode, I can talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
So here's
Here's Jose.
Jose and the
Oh,
Hawk.
Jose
my
and the
goodness.
Hawk.
Okay, you guys, this is the inspiration
Our official
right
spin-off here.
for a spin-off web series.
Yeah.
Look at AJ with his short hair.
Came from this episode.
Yeah. So if you have a moment, please go out on the interwebs and find Jose and the Hawk.
Put together by Rachel Jackson, who's voicing Mike the Pike.
I'm talking too much. Can you, Mike? Can you say this? Can you fill us in on?
I'm just jumping
Jose
in
and
when the
Hawk?
timing's happening. It's
Yeah,
okay.
no, but I'm yakking too much. Can you?
It doesn't have to be like sports announcing. You don't have to talk every moment.
Anyway, so the
Yeah, but you're
Sound
dealing with
Transit-
me.
So yes, Rachel Jackson made most of these puppets, didn't she?
Yeah, these were all from her puppet arsenal.
Yeah.
She made Mike the Pike custom though.
Yes.
For that one.
Yeah.
So the Jose and the Hawk, because they were in between shots, Jose Amador, who is my beloved pal, who I refer to as the Contrarian, Jose and Rachel started riffing on.
The joke idea about them being like cop partners,
Yeah,
and like
it was
solving crimes.
It was a cop
and-
procedural, and it blew up into a web series that they started producing, and I'm in the first one, and I'm sad that I wasn't in the second one, but that's okay because every episode is dealing with a different theme. And please go find Jose and the Hawk if you have not already seen it on YouTube.
Did you
So-
get killed off?
What?
Did you get killed off?
No, I was just an obnoxious neighbor. So, sidebar, what I want to say is that personally, my personal relationship with Howard the Duck is that my friend Jeff Knight, who's a guy I went to high school with, introduced me to Howard, and he gave me a stack of Howard the Duck comic books that were tattered and loved and well read.
What was the reason you wanted to do an episode about Howard the Duck?
Why?
Yeah.
It's all right here, Mike.
Well, I just thought I'd maybe get to the crux of the issue.
Well, I wanted to tell you. Okay, hold on to that idea. I want to tell you about Jeff because Jeff actually, I told Jeff that we were doing an episode on Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get my hands on the Get Down America Vote Howard the Duck. Oh, there's John. We had
Yeah,
on
John's
that
second
episode.
appearance and Val's second appearance.
Oh, okay.
Another appearance of the Annex.
I wanted to. I couldn't find a Get Down America Vote Howard the Duck for President button.
Yeah.
Jeff found one. He immediately, it wasn't on eBay, it was on some other auction site, and he bought it, and he said, and he PM'd
the
me and
Annex
said,
hallway.
what's your mailing address? Jeff was a huge proponent of this episode, and he was the one who kept nagging me for like, when's your Howard the Duck episode going to be out? When's your Howard the Duck episode?
So he was nagging you for over a year.
Yeah, he was. So, by the by,
Thanks,
I want
Ben.
to tell you about the Howard prop that's sitting back there in the
Oh yeah.
jail cell.
Let's talk about
I
Howard.
made this prop still sits in my apartment. I made it myself, but Amy Lazert, who is my dear friend and prop wife, because she and I make props together, she did the paint on it. I was like, I don't know what to do here. Can you help me? So yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if anybody wants this fucking Howard the Duck prop, you can buy it from me or us.
Cardboard shop. I like that joke.
Yeah, it was good.
Are you selling the Howard the Duck prop?
You know what? You know, my as I said earlier, my apartment is a delicate ecosystem. So, okay, now I'm wearing a Madman T-shirt.
Oh, we see the difference now. we have been educated.
Mike, let's go back to the question that you had, or the comment you had before that I walked over.
Which one was that one?
You had want the notes, pal.
All right, hold on. Let's see.
This check, I still have this large, oversized check
love
in
that.
the office.
I love that prop so much.
So the date on the check is my birthday.
Oh,
And
what?
Oh,
The
no.
amount is.
Is that an Easter egg?
It is an Easter egg because I wrote it. So the amount 7609 is the address of the house I grew up in.
Gerber didn't have a leg to stand on.
I just made that number up, by the way. And I wish this is one of those moments where I should
I
have
love
done
this
something-
shot so much.
I should have. I thought I should have done something differently because Jose was just staring into the camera while you have more to say. I should have been away.
No.
So yeah, this whiteboard is.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's pretty clever.
Yeah, I like that effect.
So often Ben says, "This is what's going to happen." I'm like, "Okay, I trust you." And then he does this stuff, and it's extraordinary.
So we had to. You actually said starring John Belushi, but we had to overdub you saying Jim Belushi because it was actually Jim Belushi.
Also, this is the first. Well, we had two mea culpas in this one.
Yeah, well, Ben, you were saying that there was a lot of we had some puppet audio that was missed.
Yeah,
but I mean,
we had to
there's
do a
stuff that I
lot of
get
re-recording.
wrong.
Yeah.
And the other thing I get wrong is the production company who did the movie.
Right. This is actually one of the few special effects in the show. We have a lot of visual effects, which is like those stuff you see in the whiteboard is visual effects. But instead of like making Cole's face red in post, we actually had Michael sitting down below with a red light, and he turned it on as we got closer to his face.
Do you remember, Ben? Because I said the wrong production company in the movie.
Look at that terrible fake paper. No, I don't remember. I don't remember what production company it was. But we did. Yes, we did get it wrong. And and you said William Hike. I think his name is Willard Hike.
Willem. Like Willem Dafoe. Yeah.
So in this scene, when Justin is just sitting there, he actually drew a really good.
He's
he's an amazing artist.
Talented illustrator.
He's a great drawer.
Really good drawing. And there's our first appearance of Jack
Kirby,
Oh,
played by
Troy.
And he makes a second appearance as Jack Kirby.
Remember when I was
later
saying earlier that we're creating this world and we have this ensemble. Troy Lund is our Jack Kirby always.
And those bars were made for a play here at Annex, and they're just hung up on the grid with some tie line.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was that Kittens in a Cage?
I think it was Kittens in the Cage.
Yeah.
Kittens in the Cage.
Of course it was, because cages.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew Lee Creech says that check info is good trivia.
Hey, Andrew.
We'll see Andrew later.
Eventually, Map Theater
will.
will do a whole
We
trivia
will see
series
Andrew
on us.
going forward.
So note these bits of information.
Okay, so I'm actually looking up on the comments on our YouTube channel. I said, I can't remember, I said Damon R. 3 years ago said, actually it was distributed, the Howard the Duck film was distributed by Universal Pictures, not 20th Century Fox. I don't know how I got into my gourd that it was 20th Century Fox, but I was
Our puppeteers for Howard.
Oh yeah, let's talk about our puppeteers.
Eddie DeHaze,
Yes.
who is off on the East Coast. I don't know where they're going, getting a MFA directing. And they left town shortly after we recorded this or we taped this episode. And Rachel Jackson is another one of our
Well, and Zane.
Zane exactly.
And Zane exactly. It rounds out the three.
Well, Eddie was really excited about what we were doing and wanted to be a part of it. And when we get to the end of this episode, one of my favorite moments of this whole episode is when Eddie was and Justin are walking down the sidewalk. I love that.
Yeah, they were
So
they were on a
also,
they were on a
Amy
skateboard
also
at one point, right?
sewed
Yeah.
Howard's little blazer and his little tie and all these things. I'm sorry, Mike. What?
Oh, I was just saying that the walking down the sidewalk bit that we'll see here in a moment, they were laying on their back on a skateboard, weren't they? Yeah.
Yep.
Eddie was on their back on a skateboard. I can't remember how, just like using feet to just propel them. But on that scene, in that previous scene, when Howard and Steve Gerber reunite, Rachel and Zane are laying on their backs on the floor, passing Howard.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was really proud of myself because I made this prop that these artists could use without a lot of consultation.
This episode is also one of the instances where we abuse Manager Mike, not just physically but also emotionally.
Yeah,
Oh
we
yeah,
do.
yeah. It really
But
kind of
there's
sunk
more
into
to
place.
come, friends. There's more to come.
The oft beleaguered is how I like to describe him.
Yeah.
Finally makes a connection
beleaguered.
in Mike the Pike, and who just jumps into the water.
His imaginary friend abandons him.
I think I referred to you as long-suffering in a press release at some point.
That was me. That's my voice right there.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
There's AJ.
AJ with his short hair. Oh, man, look at that.
And clean shaven.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is one of my favorite
Yeah.
shots.
Eddie's on their back on a skateboard.
Oh,
With
yeah.
the...
Old school Sunday afternoon, Capitol Hill, when we could actually,
I
be close to
love
each
that
other.
shot
Oh, yeah.
so much.
That Value Village in the background no longer exists.
Oh man, my favorite Value Village.
Vermilion's still there.
Right, and I'm getting super lazy on the credits here, as you can see.
Super lazy? How so?
Yeah, I just used to put more effort. Oh, that's because I got to get this episode out. It's been a year. Let's just
Tighten this up.
Credit sequence.
But yeah, honestly, I thought we were done. I thought Ben was burnt out and he didn't care.
Oh, but no, we started doing the Panel Jumper live, and we did a live Panel Jumper for Chapter 1, but for Chapter 2, which was on May 27th, 2016, we premiered this episode, the Human Fly Special.
Well, hey, look, buddy, it's Mad Max, our favorite movie.
It is our favorite movie.
Oh, this is the
This is our bottle episode.
Yeah,
the bottle episode.
Like, so
the Human Fly
we
one.
had a joke where
this
where
is
Manager
great.
Mike wasn't gonna roll up the comic to fight the fly, but then he picks this other like the previews, which nobody knows is like the previews.
Yeah,
no.
Don't damage the comic.
And I would just like to point out the fly
is really awesome.
What? No, flies away.
That was me fighting an invisible fly. Thanks for filling that in, Ben.
So,
yeah.
What happened to you right before we filmed this episode?
Yes, just before filming this episode, I had just finally recovered from a 3-week injury to my lower back, which actually required physical therapy, and was finally able to move around normally. And this ended up being the most physically intense episode we've ever done for me.
Yeah. Like here, okay, so Gilson just had an extreme lower back injury. What should we do? Oh, let's have him fall off of a ladder.
Yeah, that's coming up here in a second. Yeah, that was great.
This is one of our most popular episodes.
Surprisingly, I was kind of shocked by that.
I've got a snarky answer for why it's our most popular episode.
Go for it.
It's because it's so short.
Shut up, Ben.
Actually, no. It's because there is so much calamity and physical violence in it. I really believe that this episode is so popular because we get to see all these motorcycle crashes.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I knew at least one YouTube commenter was annoyed by anything I did in this whole thing.
What? Read the comments, Gilson. So there was.
So I came across the true story of the Human Fly in 40 Times.
One of my favorite shots, by the way. With the
yep, you did a great job with this. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna constantly interrupt you because we only have like another hour and a half left of this. That's not true. But we mispronounce the names of the characters who created the Human Fly. We say Ramachiri. I heard him say it on the internet. It's Ramachiri.
Oh,
so that's another mea culpa for
Oops.
something
wow!
we got wrong.
Did not know.
I had nothing to do with that.
Well, they're all connected with the mob anyway. So.
So Gilson weighs.
Oh yeah, that was me falling off the ladder.
On our YouTube channel, someone actually offered the original Human Fly stunt bike to us.
What?
Yeah.
How much?
Was it 70,000?
70 grand? Yeah, sure. Let's just put that in the budget.
Yeah,
the budget of the next episode.
a gentleman actually found us on YouTube and said, "Hey, I own the original Human Fly stunt motorcycle. You want to buy it for 70 grand or something like that?" Go to our YouTube channel, you will see.
Who does he think we are?
So the whole Human Fly thing was was truly mysterious, and there's more about it than I talk about in the episode. And some of it actually probably had a lot to do with the mob. And I'm not going to go into it any more deeply than that.
But as far as your question, Gil,
I think we have over 1,000 hits on I think at least 2 of our episodes.
Yeah. Some of my favorite episodes have barely hit 400 hits, but this one keeps growing,
it's also,
and that's all right.
I don't want to get too down on ourselves here, but like the stuff that we put very little effort in, like some of the Ask the Panel Jumper stuff, which I just took a camera in front of your face and you talk for 5 minutes and I edited it down to 2.5. Those get more hits than an episode I work, 80 hours on. Hooray!
Yeah, we'll talk about that offline.
So, but one thing I remember from showing this video at Chapter 2 of the Panel Jumper Live is that everybody had such a visceral reaction
to this scene.
Oh yeah, right here.
And this is why I think, oh my God.
And he lives.
Somehow.
He literally goes into the scaffolding of the platform.
Upon his discharge from the hospital.
Oh yeah, fly cam, like
Fly
the
cam!
Evil Dead reference, kind of there. Homage.
Oh, I just received a GoPro for my birthday, so that's
Yeah,
that's
we had fun with that.
What?
yeah.
Decades later,
What?
So that's how we can get these awesome fly shots.
And again, spiky hair. Because Cole is always digging in his hair because he's so nervous while he's shooting all this stuff.
turns out, the man
Oh
calling
my
himself
goodness.
Rick
And look,
Rose
flat hair.
was a bit of a con artist.
Yeah.
Magic.
Well, you know,
Magic hair.
I love this T-shirt so much. I got this off. I think I got this T-shirt off T Fury. Do you care about my T-shirts? Should I stop talking about my T-shirts?
Your T-shirts are fun.
more.
Talking about the T-shirts is
This
great.
is beautiful amalgam of.
What was that noise that just happened? Was that?
It was a gorilla.
Was it the
Watch
gorilla?
episode, Mike.
Yeah.
I did watch the episode, but I heard what you said. It didn't sound like a gorilla to me. That's.
I did a YouTube search for gorilla, and I captured a gorilla yelling, and that's what the gorilla.
All right.
sounds
So
like
let's
when
do
they
a shout out to Mike Gilson's
No.
connection, or Mike Gilson's facility for physical humor.
yell. Just after an extreme back injury.
Oh man.
So there's Mr. Ramachiri.
Of all the
Ramachiri.
episodes of I was sweating
Oh, you killed the bug.
profusely, it was this one.
Yeah.
It was warm in
You
there.
were.
That was real. That was real. That was real sweat wipe.
Real
That was not acting. And then, of course, while Cole was talking, and I had to this scene and the scene before it, where Cole's standing there and I'm behind him doing stuff, multiple takes, and it was just
I appreciate the fact
Not
that
your
you
fault.
sacrifice your body for
No, it's
our
no
art.
faults. I love this shot. I love this. I love
See you next time on the
Mike swapping at the bugs.
Yeah, and of course,
Yep.
fake flies.
This is truly one of our most successful episodes.
All right, so this next episode.
Where are we? Oh,
Is,
Take that,
this is
YouTube
another,
commenter.
panel jumper special.
I so much wanted to tell the story about the Ninja Turtles, and my beloved friend Dom DeGregorio drew the solar-powered Danger
My name
Noodles.
is Cole Hornaday, and welcome back to the
this is
empathetic solar powered danger.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, I can't see that far.
this was the when I was doing Wojciech at North Seattle Community College, and I had the worst facial hair I've ever
We
had.
go through a lot of Gilson facial
Variations.
hair changes. In
Yeah.
this show.
So, my beard is already white. What happened?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. This episode premiered at the Panel Jumper Live Chapter 3 on November 18th, 2016, and
Yeah.
was released on the internet about a week later.
Here's Brandon and
There's
Shane.
Brandon, Ryan, and Shane
Oh.
Regan in my apartment, by the way.
That's your apartment?
That's my apartment.
Oh, I thought
Perfect,
that was, I thought that was
perfect
Shane's
casting for
apartment.
Eastman and Laird. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Ninja Turtle. Together, the pair brainstormed a quartet of terror.
Brandon put his shoes on my chair. I never forgave him for that.
Turkey.
That's not. I don't care.
Michelangelo.
They're good friends. They're
He doesn't care, but he still remembers it 4 years later.
Of all the stories that we tell, this is one that a lot of people tell about the Ninja Turtles, but I really wanted to tell it because I had a particular fondness and connection to the Ninja Turtles from their early days. So,
And Frank Miller.
the millennials have a deeper connection to the Ninja Turtles. I, as Gen Xer, just kind of touch on it, and that's okay. But when I discovered the Ninja Turtles as as an independent comic book, it had a profound impact on my brain, and that's what I wanted to tell with this story is how the little guy, Eastman and Laird, the little guys, succeed and become multi-millionaires.
I was never big into comics, but when I was a kid, but I always remember the Ninja Turtles as being a thing. I don't remember a time when there wasn't a Ninja Turtle.
And
Even before the '90s cartoon. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it was '80s, buddy. I was still in college.
It was early '90s. It was a Disney afternoon.
Somebody comment
then.
on the YouTube
Yeah.
chat and tell
Okay.
us when the Ninja Turtle cartoon started.
Yeah, it might have been
I'm
'89.
afraid to touch the computer in case I screw something
All
up.
right.
In an oversized magazine
But anyway,
This is the third print of the first issue. By the by,
we so one thing, if you have followed along with us on this journey, we shoot inside the Comics Dungeon a lot, and there are a lot of similar shots because the Comics Dungeon isn't really all that big. It's nice and sizable,
But
you
it's
know, for a
perfect.
comic book store. But when we're on episode like 6 right now. and it's really hard to find new and interesting ways to shoot Cole talking, delivering a monologue inside the comic book store and make it look new and fresh.
I love this list of
This
all
is
the
all
different.
real. This is all real.
That's what amazes me. Is that,
This is all real.
these all,
And
Yeah.
all this animation here, this is all Ben's brilliance. This is all Ben doing Ben's thing.
So I got I have
This last
this
one's fake.
just in. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon was from 1987.
Okay.
Yeah, I was still in college.
I remember watching it in the late 90s or
So
early
yeah,
90s.
Chris and
90, 91.
Border Town Creature
But,
421.
I lucked out when I asked my friend Dom to do these illustrations because
Oh yeah,
they
Dom
were
made
perfect.
those.
They're absolutely perfect.
Danger noodles.
There's more?
No, Odin's beard. Yeah, that was.
So
Odin's
that was my line.
tell me what Odin's beard is from.
That's from
That
Thor.
was you.
Yeah, I chose,
You?
we
That
had
was
we
your
had
line.
we
You
had
came
some
up with
other
that.
line written in there originally,
Right.
and I was like,
It
no,
sucked.
I think Manager Mike would make a comic book reference. So I dug up the Thor reference. So
Oh wait,
that was
we
my
missed. We
that was
missed
my
everybody
first
handing
that was
up
my
the-
first editorial change
Missed
to the
everybody
script.
handing the figures up to me.
That was me, I think. Wasn't
See,
it?
here's
That was
the-
No,
definitely-
and Webb.
yeah, me and Webb were down
And
there.
Webster.
Wick was down there doing that too. Yeah.
Firstly, he gave them color-coded headbands and monogram belt buckles.
So yeah, Ninja Turtle cartoon. Those two on the right look both red. But whatever.
Instead, making them a
I was really hoping this episode would land harder with fans, but it didn't. And I think it's because there's been a lot of discussion about Ninja Turtles and the impact on, particularly on the millennial mindset, and that's okay.
But in the Turtles' case, gave them perfect licensing
So
portability.
we talk about the rule of 4 here, and
Yep.
Comics to cartoons,
one of the
games to movies, holiday
one of the
that was really a thing.
things.
That's really a thing.
One of the instances we talk about, and
Yeah.
maybe I'll talk about it more when we get there, is we do a little bit of self-referential humor where we talk about the podcast.
I actually have a note about you guys
Right,
doing
right,
that in
right.
this episode.
Yeah.
That was on you, Ben. I just
Here it
followed
comes.
through.
It's coming up.
And boom. Oh
Uh,
wait.
So there were 4 of them.
And these.
And there they are.
those
there it is.
people.
Perfect Bound Podcast, everyone. Give it a listen.
Yep.
Yeah. So
By the time issue number 13 of TMS
Chris says, looking at old store layouts gives me the weirdest flashbacks.
I can imagine.
Okay, so we need to give a shout out to Chris Casso because he is the manager of the shop, and bless his heart, he will be there patiently. You know, he will do some of his work at the computer, but then he'll patiently work around us while we're shooting, and we are very, very mindful about getting in and out in what, Ben, 3 hours or so.
We want to the store closes at 8,
Right.
and we want to be out of there by 11 at the latest, because I don't know when Chris actually starts work, but the dude works a
much.
ton,
Too
and
hard.
so I want to be respectful of his time, and he's a sweetheart to let us.
And it's important to get out there
Let
at
me shoot
reasonable
the
hours
store.
so we
At
can
a
go to
certain
Kate's
point,
Pub afterwards
I
and get a
started
beverage.
telling- I'm sorry, Mike. I was talking over you. What?
I kept talking. You were fine.
Well, at a certain point, I started considering Comics Dungeon as our business partners with the podcast, and in doing this, and honoring particularly Chris's grace when we were doing this was important to me. What?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Chris Casso chatting on the. I'm assuming that's Chris
On
Casso.
there? Oh.
He says there is no start, there is no finish, there's only retail.
So I want to stop
True,
and
Chris.
recognize Mike Gilson's acting ability.
And his beard.
This is not the episode for that one.
He has springy hair too.
Oh, well, that was kind of deliberate choice. I actually messed up my hair
Hi,
because
Chris.
I was so frazzled. I was methody in
Right.
that moment. Yeah.
Whatever, Mike. You were brilliant. You did a great job.
So,
Thank you, Cole.
previously Shanks asked us who our favorite turtle was. I don't actually have one. Cole, who's your favorite turtle? Your favorite Ninja Turtle?
I never had one.
You never had one?
No, Leonardo was definitely my
Leonardo
guy.
was your
No,
guy?
because remember
From the
when
cartoon. I didn't read the comic.
I
but
read
from
the
cartoon.
original comic book where they all look the same.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
you
one of the things that I
couldn't make a
want
choice there.
and that's what one of the things I put emphasis on in this episode is how what's his face went through and made very clear distinctions with the we talk about.
Yeah, we talk
I
about
can't
him.
remember his name.
It was
now.
the Transformers guy, right?
Yeah, the Transformers.
Yeah. Bob.
No.
Anyway, so I like the Gilson never learns his lesson. Or sorry, not Gilson. Manager Mike.
Thank you.
Never learns his lesson.
It's hard to tell because my acting is so amazing.
You're always on brand. Our friend Chris says his favorite turtle is Donatello because he was a giant
I
dork.
think I have to go to the boys' room. Oh no, it's the Batman.
But this
Oh, it's the
is
Batman one.
issue 005, Boy Wonder Years, one of our better titles.
So proud
It
of this
premiered at
episode.
the Panel Jumper Live Chapter 4 on April 14th, 2017.
Yes.
And you can go to the bathroom because I have one thing to say about this.
Well, I want to hear what you have to say though. There's Sam Rowe.
So this is the
Sam.
episode
Great.
where
Craig.
we
Rachel.
Is Rachel? Cedric.
this is the episode where we made the
I am
decision.
going to the restroom.
Another
Go to the
facial hair
restroom.
change for
Get some
Manager
water.
Mike.
This is the episode where we decided to put to premiere the new episodes of the Panel Jumper at the live show.
This was the first live show?
No, the
The first
Ninja-
live show debut.
This is actually the third episode to premiere at the live show. The Human Fly and the Mutant Turtle episodes premiered at the live show. But
Right.
this is the one where Cole and I decided to make the live show our deadline because we needed deadlines.
Right.
And so for this one, we were cute and we made it a two-parter because there's a cliffhanger at the end. And if you're watching these for the first time, I'm really sorry. I'm assuming people who are watching this have already seen the episodes.
Statute of limitations, you know. It's
So
fine.
there's a cliffhanger at the very end, and whether or not Gilson and nephew, or sorry, I'm gonna do that. Forgive
It's all
me.
right.
So Whether or not Manager Mike
'cause of my amazing
and
acting.
nephew Steve succumb to the bomb that is placed at the sword, and whether or not Batman saves them.
Yes.
So here's the first
there he is.
mention of James Weidman as Frederick Wortham, Dr. Frederick Wortham. He's the reason for the the Senate Subcommittee on Juvenile Delinquency.
Yes.
He thought that comic books were basically training kids to be little monsters. And I like what William Gaines says later on. Children don't need books to tell them how to be little monsters.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, welcome back, Cole. Don't trip over the wire. Don't trip over the wire.
Wow, he was just calling it out not to do that. Impressive. Most
Can you hear
impressive.
me? Am I all right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
So the Batman episode.
Yeah. So,
Did you talk about the two parts?
we talked about the two parts, and but I didn't finish that. So it was a cliffhanger. We showed part one in Act 1 of the live show, and we had the audience vote on whether or not they wanted Manager Mike and nephew Steve to live or die.
That's
and
right.
we'll actually see what happens later on.
Yeah.
Casey.
Well, wait. Casey. Nephew Steve.
Casey-
Steve.
So we actually named this character Nephew Steve before casting Casey Stevens
Right.
in the role.
So, we've already seen our Batman, and I asked an actor who would probably prefer not to be named because we used him anonymously in the episode. But a friend of a friend had
Secret identity. You know.
this beautiful custom-made Batman costume. And I got in contact with this gentleman and said, "Can we borrow your costume?" And Amy Lazert, who did the costume design for this episode, helped us fit our actor into this costume because it didn't fit our actor playing Batman, and we had to pin him into it. And he popped the pins and the strings and the Velcro every time he moved. But hopefully, you don't ever see that.
So there's
But
LaCrista
the
and
Batman
Val.
costume was there's Daniel.
Dan Wood.
Yeah,
Daniel Wood playing Grant Morrison.
right. People didn't understand why I wanted Daniel to look like Spider
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem
With the two-faced cat over there.
transmit because Grant Morrison didn't write that. I'm like, no, but but he is that character.
So this shot is in the green room of 18th and Union, which is a small theater in the Central District. I just want to point out all the places who let us shoot there. No, Chris, it's not the Mercury. It's the 18th and Union. Keep up.
So did we cover all of the
Sidekicks.
audience choices at the live show?
Not all of them. We'll get to that in a
Well,
bit.
tell me when to stop talking.
Well, I just wanted to touch on that because we get to it. It's going to be a short moment, but like, yes, there was a vote for the audience, and I had some free time at the time, and so I did make some choices to help influence the audience decision.
He did. He tipped the ballot.
Before we start with that, though, Gilson,
Yeah.
why are you clean shaven?
Why was I clean shaven for this?
You were in some play.
But hold on, let me look at the dates.
So there's Val Bernardo and Lacrissa Borgers, who fortunately came back to play with us in the episode.
Oh, I was doing My Man Godfrey at Theater Schmieder at the time.
I love this shot where Batman
it
runs off and Cole runs in with the Space Needle behind him. I was really proud of myself for this shot.
I
was a
love
good one.
this
I even
shot.
sent you a screenshot of this, and you use it as your
Facebook-
profile picture.
It was my Facebook profile picture for many, many months.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
But yes.
So
when we get to that point coming up here pretty
Okay.
soon, yes,
All
there
right.
was.
Our friend Chris let us shoot on their apartment rooftop, which is this beautiful place that
Oh,
looks
yeah.
Chris
over.
Exnell?
Yes, Chris Exnell. It looks over downtown, and we
It was Keith Dahlgren.
we escaped
Yeah.
the rain. It started raining like 2 minutes after we wrapped shooting and got all the equipment back inside.
So we're shooting this at the SAG-AFTRA offices. This is Chris Compte's office.
The erstwhile SAG after
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not there anymore. Yeah.
and
I miss that roof too, Chris.
and Keith Dahlgren is a beloved friend and my former boss when I worked at Seattle Public Theater. And he really wanted to be in an episode because Keith is actually a comic book fan as well. One of the reasons why we connect. One of the many reasons why we connect so well. But he just like piped in at one point and said, "I want to be in an episode." I'm like, "I can do that for you."
I have that power.
have
So,
that power.
so the shirt, Cole, the shirt you're wearing is a is it
It's Bat Cthulhu.
Bat Thulu?
Yeah, it's a mashup of, and I think it was with this T-shirt I began to explore the validity of pop culture mashups. I'm right now. I don't know if you can see it, gang, but I'm wearing an Walking Dead T-shirt because that is the most perfect mashup of a pop culture reference.
So I never read comics when I was a kid. I've just recently gotten into comics since when did the first episode air? March 26, 2014.
Right.
But this series, A Death in the Family,
Yeah.
is actually the first comic book I ever owned. For whatever
That's
reason,
right.
I came into the trade when I was a kid, so I did read that one. So I enjoyed working on this episode.
This episode is very dear to my heart because I parsed out a lot of mythology that I'd heard over the years, predating the internet, about what precisely went down with this whole thing.
And here's me running on the other side of the road with a camera
Yeah.
with our friend who shall
Okay,
not be
so
named playing
we got
I
Batman.
want to do a shout out to
Krista
Alex King. Made a lot. He volunteered to do a lot. He
We'll be seeing those later.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Alex said, if you ever need any unusual props for the web series, please let me know.
And we're like, can you make us a stick of dynamite?
and he did this stick of dynamite here, the stack
bundle
of
of dynamite, yeah.
And he also did what you'll still, and this is digital.
That time
was,
is a VFX, yeah.
That's Ben's effort there.
Yep, my mouth is totally blocked there.
But he also there's a batarang that you see later that Alex made, which is just
Right.
perfect. I have these things. If you want to buy them in support of the panel jumper, please let me know. We can work out a deal.
Oh yeah, that's we haven't mentioned that because this isn't really this is, like I said in the very beginning, a very self-indulgent venture, but we if we do have a Patreon for the panel jumper if you want to
Please,
support
please.
us,
Please.
and Cole is willing
All right,
to
here's
sell
where we
stuff.
cast the
Oh,
votes.
wait. Yep.
All right,
Yeah, so
I guess people want to pay attention.
Yes, yeah. So I made a bunch of baked goods and presented them
He did.
just before intermission at the live show, and here we go.
So that's
Yeah, so-
my friend Paul Goody doing the voiceover.
Yeah, and so I bribed them with cupcakes and cookies. I had found a image printer that would make edible images, and I put them on mini cupcakes and made cupcakes with Save
Yeah.
my manager Mike, Save nephew Steve.
Yeah.
The initiative
Yeah.
you took with that was just
It's amazing what you can do when you're inspired and have free time.
Yeah. Okay. Fair
You
enough,
had free
fair
time.
enough.
What are you
It was
actually
so
saying,
perfect. If you go, well,
I was unemployed at the time.
Okay, there you go.
if you go to the Panel Jumper Facebook page, you can see the cupcakes that he had custom made for this.
I believe
which is
there's
kind
a
of
photo.
extraordinary.
Yeah, we do see
yeah.
the cupcakes later on. Oh, the spinny paper motif.
Yeah.
Yep. I love
Spinning
that.
paper motif. But yes,
wasn't real.
Jason wasn't.
Wasn't real. He was a phantom. The project
I think in one scene you can actually see somebody walk by in the background. Well, yeah, there it goes.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you.
Well done, Keith. Well done.
Denny says he would upload the photo here if he could. Thank you, Denny. We know you have it. Why don't you?
It's on the sequence here later.
It comes up later.
Yeah.
I was really happy that we got to have Keith in this.
And we just made him sit there with his head in his hands, crying
Angsty.
in the
But
middle, in the back
One
there.
of the things that, as we, progressed through our 6 years through this show, is the community that we built with so many people, and being able to give friends and loved ones opportunities to join us and take part.
Was this the episode? We'll get to the credits eventually, but was this Samantha Armitage or was this Amy that helped do all the costumes for all the sidekicks?
No. Amy Amy did
couldn't remember
costumes
who.
for this one. I don't.
Okay.
I think Sam worked on the next one.
Okay. All right.
Sam also helped us pick costumes for the Fu Manchu episode because
Yep.
Yeah.
no. I'm sorry, not the Fu Manchu episode.
No?
Yeah, no, that's the one. That's the Bruce Lee one.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there's like a lot of work went into that.
Never
All
try
the
to
costuming.
shoot outside when people are coming out of bars.
Oh my god. That was a nightmare. Yes. We're seeing
This
the ending where I get
beautiful
saved.
Batman costume.
So I have
Look
a
at that.
question here.
Yeah.
The bomb was about to go off. Did
Yes.
these two want to get blown up as
Apparently
well?
so.
Well,
Yes. I thought about that.
you
I wondered about that.
know, fanaticism. Ben just
So
shot
this shot is
beautifully.
inspired by The Tick, where they didn't have enough money to choreograph a fight, so they just did a push in on Arthur, I think. Well, The Tick and some baddies just raced back and forth.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
Really?
Yeah, in the old Tick series with
Oh.
Patrick Warburton.
Patrick Warburton.
Yeah.
And there's
Ray
Ray.
Williams.
Yay!
Bunch of our returning folks. And what I liked about Val's character,
Uh-huh.
like all the costuming was done because it's spelled REDOX, Red Ox,
Red Ox.
but she pronounces it Redox. I love that.
I like that. It's just Ray's a police officer, but then
Yeah.
Batman says, "Take him away, officers."
Yes, I remember that too. Yeah.
In addition, Todd's death harkened in with
Yeah. So anyway, the audience voted that manager Mike and nephew Steve should
Much
live.
to my
course.
chagrin.
Yes, Ben was really
to
trying to
kill
kill me
you
off
off.
here.
Here's the wall. Go bite
But
it.
42 to 24, I might like to point out because I still have
Thank you,
the
buddy.
3x5 card with the tally on
I
it.
gave you, I gave that to you, right?
So yes, wasn't one of our sold out nights, but we had many sold out live shows after that. But
I would also like to point out that because I was counting ballots during intermission, I screwed up and forgot to start recording on my podcast recorder. So we
Oh, that's right.
interviewed Tatiana Gill at this live show,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we had
lost
to,
it. Yeah.
and so all that is lost. But she was
No,
nice
she
enough.
came
We
back.
brought her into the
Right.
store. We interviewed her. I like that Batman has a comic book subscription at Comics Dungeon.
Of course he does.
And again, we keep expanding and building the world around Comics Dungeon and the Panel Jumper with this.
And I also
Wow, man, that's a great shot.
Yeah.
Thank you. I keep everything, and I even still have the piece of paper that says "Sidekick auditions tonight only" or whatever
Seriously?
it is. I do, yeah. I don't know why I've
Wait,
I
wait.
haven't
Are
recycled it yet.
You had this. I didn't realize you had this sentimental streak.
It's in my apartment. So, yeah. So the audience voted to let manager Mike and nephew Steve live.
Yep.
It
And
may
this
have
is-
been because of nephew Steve, but yeah.
Yeah. Nobody wanted to see Casey die.
Gosh, no.
That has to be it.
I think so.
But yeah, it was It was a close call, I think. What did you say? 42-24?
It was not a close call. 42 to 24.
I'm gonna say that was a close call.
It's 2-1, man.
I love these binoculars. There's
Yep.
our star
Ah,
as
yes.
Batman.
Look at him.
Batman.
He's so
Um,
beautiful.
So here's the
I found
explanation.
Here we
these
go.
binoculars at a thrift store.
However, yes.
So
There they are.
There.
Look at all those
Lovely
cookies and those
cupcakes. How about
cupcakes.
this?
Yeah.
he did bribe the audience. They
I
were
totally
really good.
did.
Perfect.
So
I would
this
do
is
it
the
again.
both endings. So we start at the middle of the scene. There's the sign I still have, and wait for it. Oh, everybody dies.
Heartbreak.
Alternate.
Yeah.
Even Batman, apparently.
I blew up
but,
the
but
company.
it's Batman.
We
'cause he
still
doesn't
have
die.
those tombstones.
Yeah.
Oh, this is another Alex
Alex King special.
contribution.
Yeah.
And there's Nick Rykar.
Yeah.
Being our,
There's one scene in here
there's
where
Ryan
it's
Ryan
just a
Picard.
still
Yep.
shot, but I do a
Yep.
handheld.
and Amelia. Or,
Our first shot of Jordan.
Yeah, that was just a still shot because I didn't have a good close up
so
of those
Boston,
three.
Oh.
Jack.
Daniel Jackson and Sarah Papineau.
Well, and there's Jordan Michael.
Also,
over there, too.
Yeah.
Gilson, you weren't there. This was effing cold.
Oh, I remember that. I remember hearing
Wind
about
was
that.
blowing. The wind was blowing, and the
was
styrofoam tombstones kept blowing
So-
over.
I remember asking if I could be like in this incognito in disguise in this scene, but
Obviously,
you said no.
We're not in a cemetery. We're in a baseball field next to 18th and Union.
That's
in
at
the
Cal
Center District.
Anderson Park, isn't it?
It's on Union Street.
Oh, is it on Union? I thought it was
this-
Cal
yeah,
Yeah,
Anderson.
this is like a block from 18th and Union, the
Yeah.
play space. Yeah.
Because we used that as like a home base for this episode.
So Jordan Michael will show up in a couple episodes as a principal character.
Yeah,
Um,
and then here's Batman. He survived. He's a jerk. He lived, and he's
Yeah,
just showing
yeah.
up.
He's got armor and stuff, man.
Yeah.
yeah, we had to keep cutting away because because the tombstones were blowing over.
Yeah. So, actually, Gilson, if you want that tombstone that says Manager Mike, we probably need to clear it out of here.
Chris,
so.
That's probably a good
loaned
point. I
us
should
this
probably take
Batman
it. Yeah.
costume, this extraordinary Batman
Yeah.
costume.
All right.
Yeah.
This next episode, issue 5, EC Come, EC
Issue
Go.
6.
This
Issue
is,
6.
I often say I have dream episodes. This was another one.
So this premiered at the Panel Jumper Live Chapter 5 on December 8th, 2017. And I gotta say, never produce a live cabaret show. Oh, there's my car in the background. In December, we had 14 no-shows for that show.
Right.
Because what's their?
It was a
inclement
cold,
weather?
rainy night, and people don't like leaving.
Okay. Well,
Oh yes, this is Manager
Mark
Mike's
Fullerton.
actual first
And
costume
there's my-
change
one of my
right here.
co-writers, Andrew Lee Creech,
Yeah,
Shannon
Andrew.
Kip. Um,
All right, so there's a lot to say about this one.
Yeah.
That nobody that nobody care. People care. So this is a takeoff on the House Un-American Activities Committee, right?
Right.
The House Undead American Activities Committee. Haha, aren't we clever?
yes.
So Seattle, Washington State had their own
Oh.
anti-communist hearings.
These moments right here. Oh my God.
So I cut
Mark
out
was
about
having
5
such-
minutes of Mark Fullerton whispering into your
He
ear.
every take was something new and crazy different. It was really hard not
Mark
to crack
never
up.
says a word.
All right,
Mark,
so
Mark was hilarious.
the
Ben's got.
The
the
moment was passing.
I know.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
You guys talk.
A Washington State Senator, Albert Cantwell,
Yeah.
had his own anti-communist hearings in Seattle in the 50s. And, like, the people who ran the Seattle Repertory Theater at the time got taken down by this. A lot of people got taken down by this. I was in a play in college called All Powers Necessary and
remember that.
Convenient about this very thing.
We went to college together, Ben and I.
Those
You're
those
welcome,
hearings,
Blair.
The Cantwell hearings took place in the Seattle Armory, which is where we are filming this scene.
Clever.
I never knew all
It's not the
this.
same room because the windows are different, but it's
Yeah.
the same building where those hearings took place 60 years ago.
And there's Ray.
And there's Ray. And also another thing that probably only Cole and I know.
Ray.
So Andrew and Shannon played Representative Jones and Representative O'Day. Judith O'Day played Barbara in Night of the Living Dead. And Jones, I can't remember his first name. I think it's like Dean Jones? Not Dean Jones. He's in Herbie the Love Bug. Anyway, Mr. Jones was the other main lead in Night of the Living Dead.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Clever.
Background stuff that
Clever.
nobody but me cares about.
So
Deep trivia.
The very first panel jumper live that we did at West of Lennon, I tried to do a play that drew from the transcriptions from the original trial, and it was we were still trying to figure out. Ben, help me out here, but we were still trying to figure out how we wanted to do the live show.
We're still trying to figure that out.
Well, but we came up with a formula before the plague, and thank you, buddy. But about 75% of the script for this one was what I had written for the very, very first live show.
Oh, right. Okay, so yeah, the live show, we thought it would be fun to do live versions of the panel jumper.
And that was so wrong.
And you did that once, and it was great, but you didn't want to do it again.
No, it was too stressful.
And so, so yeah, that was.
Why does
this is
Manager Mike have an
expansion on
antique
that first
radio
episode.
here?
What's that?
Why does Manager Mike have this antique radio?
Well, that's courtesy of
Cartoons.
no, that's
Not
courtesy of
cartoons, but
well,
Manager.
it's also courtesy of Tom Stewart. Tom is
Abbey
a-
Roads, right?
Oh, we could talk for an hour about the brilliance of Abbey Roads. Hold on, my mouth is full. You guys talk. Hold on.
So,
Oh, there's our
I don't know
costumer.
what to say without you talking. No,
That's Fantasia.
AJ, Fantasia,
AJ,
and
and
Sarah
Sarah
are our zombies, and
Yeah.
doing some of the best zombie work I've seen
Oh,
in
man.
modern
Totally.
cinema.
This was so hilarious to work with.
So some of the script the portions of the script that are the hearing are actually drawn from the original subcommittee on juvenile delinquency, the Kefauver hearings.
Kefauver. I looked it up. It's pronounced Kefauver.
I always say it wrong. So we will have a short episode that's coming up in sometime in the future where we talk more about EC Comics.
Three
James
amazing
as
guest
Frederick
stars.
Reichard.
Nick Reichard, Nick Donner, and
Brett Fetzer
Brett
as
Fetzer
Senator
and-
Kefauver, and Nick is Senator Hendrickson. These lines are taken straight from the transcript of the Senate Subcommittee on Juvenile Delinquency,
Right.
as is Shannon's line from the very beginning when she says, "This hearing will come to order, blah, 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 of which I am the chair," which sounds so, like, highfalutin. That's actually in the transcript. The chair said that. I don't know
Miss
if it's a legislative thing.
Yes.
that Ray was perfect as Gaines.
He actually does look like William Gaines with a
Yep,
beard.
he does.
Yep.
We throw him into different parts, and he does an
at that
exceptional
effect.
job of squeezing himself into all these weird roles. But this was the role that he was perfect for. Really, really perfect.
So,
Ray is perfect. But
and Nick Donner is a fabulous local actor, and
Yep, he
we
is.
bring him in for one line.
Yeah.
Well, awesome we are.
when we did the
Yeah.
live show, though, he had more to contribute.
Right.
So, and I actually I try to invite back most of the actors who had been involved in the first Panel Jumper Live when we did this.
And there's Webster Polk sitting in the way back there as
Yeah.
part of
Little
the
guest
Is
spot
this-
of our
is
sound
this
guy.
the first time that James plays Frederick Wortham?
No, this is his second time.
Oh, okay.
He played Wortham briefly in the Boy Wonder Years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
He was on the cover of a book.
I love. He's so. James is a brilliant actor, and he is so perfect in this role. And I in the next episode that I'm working on right now, which is called Jungle Jezebels, about jungle queens. Wortham actually had things to say about those characters too, that actually were more in support of what I was saying. Wortham was a complicated man. He didn't. We say disdainful things about him when it comes to censorship in the comic book industry, but he also was incredibly progressive.
And we touch on that in this episode, actually.
Yeah, and I intend to do that more going forward, and have James say those words.
Yeah, so this is in the TPS studios in the Armory. If you're a local theater artisan, you know of them. And yeah, this is all green screen, if you can't tell already. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. This is like the first time we've seen those little slide-in things in a
Yeah,
while.
every once in a
Oh,
while
I
try
like
to, Every
those.
once in a while, I try to like mess with the format, and I just find myself, going back to the same old tropes. Because when you're like, this is, this is number 6, so it's actually the 8th one we've done.
Yeah.
And I just get like when we write the script. So the process is Cole writes the script. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I should tell you this. Cole writes the
Tell our
script.
friends.
He sends me a first draft, and then I basically I just cut it in half. That's the first thing I do, and then send it back to him. But I'm the one that usually says, let's have this be an effect shot. Let's have this be here. Let's have this be here. And every time I say that, I'm like, well, I don't need to think of it now, but later on, I should probably think about what I want to do here. And usually that moment is when I'm sitting in front of my computer with After Effects open and working on it in the moment. What do I want to do here? So I would like to point out that James and Ray are being professional, and the liquid in their glass is actually apple juice. Cole, I think, was taking shots straight from the Jameson's bottle.
Oh, be quiet.
I'm drinking apple juice now.
That cocktail sign in the back, Webster and I tried to get that light to work, but we couldn't.
Yeah, that thing's been floating around Annex Theater for a long time. I don't know if I've ever seen it on.
As are the artificial plants.
The artificial plants are a godsend. But I love the way that your T-shirt just frames this shot with Ray there.
Yep. All in the lighting, pal.
Yeah.
That was very cleverly done by the cinematographer. on this
Yeah,
one.
I know. Who does that?
I don't know.
Must be Ben.
Well,
You're a little dark, but it is supposed to be a nightclub.
Right.
Yeah, it's really nice.
We should have had a disco ball.
So Annex Theater, if you're watching this and you don't know what Annex is, and I would be surprised if anybody doesn't. It's our home here in Seattle, Washington, where we do a majority of our screen and studio shots. And if you want to support Annex Theater, which is one of the many theaters
Please
dark here
do.
in Seattle,
Good
and
God.
I think every theater in the country is dark
pretty
right
close
now.
too. Yeah.
Go to annextheater.org. And I love James going harumph right there. That was written in the script, but I love his performance. So yeah, Shannon was great. Shannon, actually, I don't know if I told you this, Cole. She was really impressed with how on point you were with your lines. You had a big line load.
This is a hard episode to shoot. There were so many. This shot was really a challenge. So anyway, I want to talk about Abbey Roads and why I adore Abbey Roads. They are they're not in Seattle anymore, but I'd seen Abbey in. Oh, by the by, there's Amy Lazert, our costume designer, right there, and her husband Nick, and the rest of the Lazert family are in this.
I love this. We're in the
shot.
comics dungeon,
Yes.
and now we're in the back hallway behind Annex Theater.
Yes.
And then we
jump to 18th and
we
Union.
emerged into the center of this.
Yeah.
But also, like, I just want
The
to.
comics dungeon is this labyrinth.
I would just like to acknowledge that we think our audience is okay with the Comics Dungeon is a single-story building.
No.
Yet they're going downstairs.
It has
into
sub-basements.
We never see the alley.
So I want to talk about Abby, and
There you go.
I'd
18th
seen
Union
Abby in numerous shows, and I reached out to her.
That
and
was
said,
green
I have
screened.
this part, and she was just exceptional.
Yeah.
She's so charming and so present, and
Oh, there's this
perfect.
shot.
And-
oh, yeah.
so this is that 18th and Union.
Yeah, this
Wait,
is in the
here
back
we-
alley.
Oh, here we go. Wait for this.
We get the mic shot here, the money shot. Yes.
Oh.
So shout out to Julia Griffin who did our blood effects for this. And
Fortunately, I had two versions of that Team of Heroes T-shirt because that one I never got.
forgot about that.
I never quite got all the pink
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
blood out of that.
Really?
Yeah. But I fortunately had a stunt shirt.
We got we got a lot of blood all over the back
We did.
backstage area of 18th and
so
Union because
here's
we tested
Andrew Lee
it.
Creech
Yeah.
and foreshadowing that Andrew, when we get to the end of our arc here, Andrew and I co-wrote an episode together.
Is nobody going to mention that Mark Fullerton's nameplate says Mr. Lawyer? I think it's funny. Come on.
That was your idea, pal.
That's
and
why I think it's
supported
funny.
that, but
I still have the manager Mike name tag thing.
Do you? Yeah. Excellent. So he's a sentimental old fool as well.
I get random things that are handed to me. I'm like, oh, I'll keep a hold of this.
Yeah. I've never seen the cartoon,
it's terrible.
but I do enjoy Tales from the Crypt. It's on. What was on? It was on like Amazon Prime or HBO or something.
right.
Here's. I like the T-shirt, sport jacket.
Yeah,
and
it was like
tie.
I had to keep with the motif
Yeah.
of Manager Mike's outfit, but how to vary it for like keep being in court. you know. So I had that blue
So,
jacket that just happened to match
Fantasia
really well.
Rose Osland also is became
costume.
our costume
And
designer.
she
The
did all
one
the
in the-
makeup zombie, the zombie
Yep,
makeup stuff
yep.
too.
She's the one in the hard hat.
In
Yeah.
the hard hat.
And
And
she's been
AJ
a go-
wearing a face mask that now is worth like $3,000.
And also,
Life in the
Fantasia
Time of
Rose
Corona.
did
Yeah.
the makeup for everybody too.
So I'm wearing a Spider-Man tie because manager Mike would not wear any normal tie.
I like that blue sport coat. Did you buy that specifically for the show?
No, I actually owned that.
You
from a while
had
back.
that?
Yeah.
So one
I
of my
got that
favorite
sport joke
moments-
in like 2015. Yeah.
One of my favorite moments at the very end is when you put the House Sue shirt
Yes.
onto Fantasia.
Oh man, that was too good. We had to keep that. We filmed this multiple times.
Oh, by the by,
Oh.
I do not own a copy of Seduction of the Innocent,
That's
but
a
what I
fake cover.
bought was a fake cover. And that fake cover is over an edition of, I think it's Uta Hagen's Respect for
Yeah, that's
Acting.
right. That's right. But yeah, the scene in the background
respecting
though
it too
with the
much.
zombies.
No, because a copy of
That ended
Seduction
up,
of the
like,
Innocent is
right
like
there.
hundreds of
Trying to put that
dollars.
T-shirt on over the hard hat and just leaving her like that.
Beautiful.
Oh,
that
wait,
just
that's my
that became an accident
that's my
initially.
House Suit T-shirt.
Yeah, that was an accident initially, and it was just so funny. We ended up
forgot
keeping it for
about
future
that.
takes, and I
That's
had to
brilliant.
make sure to arrange
Yeah.
it properly.
That's
I appreciate that dedication in you,
Yeah,
Gilson.
totally.
Ugh. Hope people-
All right, watch the cables. Watch the microphone.
Yes.
So Sam was a dramaturg for that episode.
Oh, yeah.
Not a costumer.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah, I remember
So-
seeing her name.
All right. Oh, and Cole, unfortunately, he just stepped away. Had a dear friend pass away during this, so we had a little note at the very end there.
Oh,
Here's one of the few episodes where there's no dialogue in the beginning of the episode.
yeah.
Just
Almost
Gilson
never
looking
happens.
confused.
That's pretty common.
So
On camera and off.
this whole episode, or this mask was made by Cole.
Yeah, Cole made
very-
this thing.
A very Kirby-esque mask.
Yeah, and yeah, I still have that mask at my house.
You have that?
Yep. Well, it's actually in storage. I don't have it at the house because it's big.
Ah, of course. Yeah, it is very big. And so this is Jack Kirby and the Lord of Light. This is another one of those episodes where we just couldn't come up with a clever title, so we just called it
went
what
with
it was.
And I think that actually helped plug it.
Yeah,
honestly.
totally.
Yeah.
This premiered at the Panel Jumper Live Chapter 6 on June 22nd, 2018,
Yeah.
and released on YouTube July 16th. I love these effects. I did them, but I'm gonna say that
This is all
the
So
such as a moai popping out of the ground were
I made
kind of proud of that.
the big old helmet there,
Yep. Wait.
and Mike, you have that in your possession?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how odd, and he's got the chin strap on. So the Kirby dots are supposed to come in menacingly. In the script, he's chased by these Kirby dots, and so.
So
I don't know if you're
what I
being
want to say
menaced.
before we go.
Jack
there's-
Kirby number 2.
Yeah, before we go too deeply into this, I talk about Barry Ira Geller, who is the gentleman who started all of this, and Barry actually found me on Facebook and YouTube a couple months ago.
That's right, yeah.
And we have been corresponding, and he's still trying to produce this film. To produce The Lord of Light as a film, and working with the properties and materials that he has from that Jack had designed for him, and we have become fast friends. We have a lot of things to bond over, and there have been a lot of things about doing this series where I get to connect with people personally and professionally, but it was really lovely that Barry reached out to me and he shared the episode with
This part bugs me. That DC was angled the wrong way.
What?
yeah.
No, it's
shared-
diagonal. That's how it's supposed
It's
to
diagonal the other way.
Oh.
I researched it after the episode because I couldn't remember which one it was, and then
Oh,
I was trying
shut
to search, and I was like, "Oh no, my nerd cred." Yeah.
be. So Cole, we've
Yeah, yeah.
met a lot of great people
We
doing
have.
this show that we normally would not have.
Right.
Barry Ira Geller. And by the way, I misspelled his name in this episode. I've since corrected
Yes,
it,
you
but
did.
I don't think he said anything.
No, he didn't. And I sent him, and you corrected it.
Quality dude. Yeah,
I-
I did
yeah.
correct it. Yeah,
You
and we're
corrected
gonna
it.
Physical
I sent
comedy,
him that
ladies and
disc.
gentlemen, physical
because
comedy.
Barry is
There we
still
go.
trying to promote and market this property, and he actually has figures he has had produced based on Kirby's designs. He's selling prints.
Fantastic
of
book, by the way.
Jack
Yeah.
prints. Jack Kirby prints, and
Love that book.
one of the loveliest things about doing this show is all the different people that we've connected to throughout the course of the series. Ben, Mike, and I are theater people, and we thrive on collaboration and community. And who would have thunk that in producing this web series, we connect with people all over the world who are like-minded individuals, and we can support and nurture the creativity that those people are exploring, as well as our own. And that's been the biggest deal. I left out, we didn't get to talk about John Boylan in the very, very first episode, but establishing that relationship with John Swamp Thing Boylan was a really, really big deal.
John, if you've not listened to the podcast, he owns the Guinness World Record for the most Swamp Thing memorabilia.
He has a world record for the biggest Swamp Thing collection. He has a museum.
Which is his apartment.
Yep. But he also does. I have it in my bag here. Can you? I don't know if you can see
Yeah,
me
this,
on
this
the film.
art for this theme park was pretty amazing.
Yeah, so this is all
real.
We just shot Cole on a green screen, and then I comped him into these images from Heavy Metal Magazine, I believe.
And these are all, yeah.
So that's actually the real people, and then Troy Lund standing in for Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right there.
All right, I want to talk about John for half a second, and we're. But if you can see this here, John does the Holland Files, which is the Swamp Thing fanzine. If you're one of our Patreon supporters, you're going to get a copy of this. Because I wrote an article. I wrote a piece for it. How's that, Ben? They all care. I love that how you did all the animation for the newspaper article.
This was a fun one, yeah.
Yep.
And I'm glad that we don't actually say anything bad about Barry because he found the episode. That's always been my biggest fear is we like talk crap about somebody and they find the episode.
No, he was actually, from my correspondence with him, he was very appreciative of how we talked about him. And I think one of the things he said to me at one point was, I appreciate that you get it.
So this image
Yep, this
is
is great.
inspired by an old, I think it's the Twilight Zone movie where this kid is able to transport people into cartoons, and there's this one shot where this gal she's like running, but it looks like she's running in place. But
never
she's
liked that
running
elevator,
down a
but
cartoon hallway.
Yep, keep going.
So that's where that came from. That's why I had
It's
Gilson
based on
running
the
in place.
it's based on the Billy Mooney episode of the Twilight Zone. And I cannot
Bill
remember the name
Mooney
of it.
from Babylon 5?
Billy Mooney from Lost in Space and
Yeah.
Babylon 5
Yes.
together. Yep.
Yeah.
Chris likes that Twilight Zone sequence. I think we just like seeing you in peril, Manager Mike.
Well, that does seem to be popular with a lot of folks, especially named Ben.
Well, like I said, your role in this is as the fall guy, and so
Yeah.
So back to Cole's T-shirts. This is one of my favorites.
Oh, the Jack Kirby shirt.
The Kirby shirt that looks like the
So these are screenshots from the movie Argo that I just photoshopped.
Futz with them.
Lifted.
Futz. These aren't, of course, and that's Barry Ira Geller's correct spelling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just took shots from Argo. That's actually not. I think that's just some random image. But that is
That's
from
from the movie.
that is from Argo, and not Fargo, which is what I was gonna say.
I don't remember that scene in Fargo.
Fowler needs a jump.
All for a little bit of money.
And another
Hey,
yet
those
another
seats
shot
look
of
familiar.
Cole sitting in the Annex Theater seats, The
Which you
seats
might
have since
recognize.
Changed since they've.
Well,
since
actually, no.
we
Those are
first
the
shot.
red and gold ones that we're
No,
seeing here.
that's the recent
Yeah,
ones.
but
yeah.
no. Since being from the first episode.
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
The first time we see Cole in the seats, they are
The old wooden back
chairs,
ones, yeah.
And Rob Hurwitz says, "Nice butt, Mike."
Yes. My butt activity on those elevator buttons is unsurpassed. I challenge you, Rob, to do the same.
So here's again, we are back in Annex.
Yeah. Oh, the door work on this to get
door
through
work.
that door
Beautiful
required
door.
actually
Oh.
3 different people.
And I gotta point out, see the
that
desk
helmet.
that Jack Kirby's working on.
we forgot to
We
talk about this.
actually, I
Alex
asked
King.
Alex King to
once
build
again.
us a drafting desk for Jack Kirby, and Alex,
And
the quality dude that he is, looked up a picture of Jack Kirby's actual drafting desk and built a replica.
Well,
If you look at Jack Kirby's desk
Yeah.
and that desk side by side,
Yeah, he
they
didn't
look
just
the
whip
same.
something together. He
And as
actually
you
whipped
will
something
see going
accurate
forward,
together.
we reuse this desk because it's so well made.
Yeah.
Was it only Alex, or I thought Ian?
No,
Johnston
so
worked on it too?
Alex was the architect. Ian provided some of the materials, and I think
yeah.
probably some of the construction.
It's one of our standby props, and we always use it. Yeah.
So we just heard, or maybe we didn't hear, Tracy Lee.
Oh, yeah.
as,
That's her second appearance as Octobriana.
second,
Yelling
appearance
from the background.
Sorry, Tracy,
Octobriana.
we're talking over you.
The DC.
So the DC's tilted the wrong way?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Where were you on set, Gilson?
I was trying to look it up, but I couldn't get signal that day. And I just remembered it wasn't flat. It wasn't straight when it had the stars in the circle.
I knew it was tilted some
So-
way. I probably just put it.
Are you getting crabby about a continuity error?
No. I'm crappy because I was trying to get it right on set that day, and I got it wrong.
So I want to point out that there is an action figure on the wall over there, and it's a Super 7 Lord of Light action figure from the designs, which you can get if you go to the Super 7 website. I thought it was the coolest thing. It was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and I had to have one. Eternals is going to be a movie soon.
Again.
Now, for the first time.
Yeah, that crashing to that door with that helmet on and to not have the doors bang around and smack me back in the face required
Yep.
extra people to hold onto the doors as I crashed through them. I
It
remember
did. It did.
The magic of film.
Champion.
This
Oh, yeah.
is the first
my
episode
favorite
where we
outtake.
had a blooper.
Yep. Favorite blooper.
We premiere. So we
Troy was
premiered-
just tossing those things.
We premiere these episodes at the Panel Jumper Live, and by that point, the audience is applauding and clapping and yelling, and they don't see any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so why bother? Here is issue 008, the penultimate episode. If
yeah.
you've stuck with us thus far, thank you so much for sticking around. This is Here Be Kaiju. It premiered at the Panel Jumper Live, Chapter 7, on February 22nd, 2019.
This was co-written
By Andrew Shanks, who
Yes.
was watching earlier. I don't know
He might
if
still
Shanks
be
is
on.
still with
Yeah.
us.
He made some comments earlier.
He did.
Started that turtle conversation.
Yeah. So that TV in the background, my dad bought me that TV when I was in junior high, and I still have it.
This also features appearances by A.J. Epstein, his 4th appearance, Jordan McWhibby's 2nd appearance, Raymond Williams' 7th or 8th appearance, and then nephew Steve returns.
Wow,
Yeah.
Gilson, I'm
So
impressed.
we were in the middle of our second Seattle snowpocalypse, and the
Oh, right.
roads were covered with snow. And I don't trust Amazon and various delivery services, but I wanted to get a copy. I had my hands on a copy of the book that I referenced there.
Something of mountains and seas. I'm sorry, I can't remember the full
Beasts,
title.
Monsters, but our ardent supporters, Jeff and Samara Alman, said, "Don't worry about it, Cole. We'll get a copy. We'll have it delivered to our house. We will deliver it to you." And it was like, first, it kind of became a big deal for me to have a copy of this book so I could show it off. But Samara is such a scholar of Asian popular culture that she was like, "I don't know why I don't have a copy of this already."
So there's
bless their
Oh,
hearts.
yeah.
Isis King and Andrew Shanks as our news anchors, and nobody cares, but I had to actually physically separate them here because the table that we had them sit at was too small and they were too close together.
Really?
So they're actually
Filmed separately.
pulled apart.
Oh, wow. Well edited together.
Yeah.
So Isis is one of my SAG-AFTRA union sisters, and I
It's a fine mustache, Andrew.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're not going to talk about how hungover Andrew was when he shot this.
Oh, and the song Gilson's listening to is a song called Go Go Godzilla.
Yeah. course, because it's the
Oh,
theme.
wasn't Blue
That's
Oyster
actually
Cult?
my phone right there. By
It
the
is
way.
Blue Oyster Cult, yeah.
Yeah.
And here is Kate
Kate
Cray.
Cray.
Kate has wanted to be in an episode for a very, very long time, and I figured out how to get her involved finally.
Yeah.
And here she is. And this is Blair's apartment.
It is Blair's apartment. And it's actually daytime, so you could probably tell that I blacked out the window to make it look like it's nighttime.
And we have nephew Steve back.
Yay,
Nephew
Nephew
Steve.
Steve.
And again, more and more
Fake
world
dust.
building for the
I
panel.
wasn't supposed
Right.
to move those comics, but that was physical acting.
It was, you know what? You sold the moment, Mike. That's all that matters. You sold the moment.
Shank says this was the day after his birthday. Happy
It
birthday,
was.
Andrew.
No, I'm not. Again,
We're
I'm not
way
gonna
late
say
on that.
how-
It's over
I'm
a
not
year
gonna
ago.
Discuss how hungover Andrew was because it was his
I just
birthday.
assume he's hungover or drunk whenever I see him.
Look at his glassy
Love you,
eyes.
Andrew.
This is
Really?
live, man.
So yeah,
mean,
all
you're not
this
wrong,
stuff
but-
is the TV was not actually on, and you'll notice the camera's
no.
moving. I just want to point out how complicated I made this for myself.
Well, you do this a lot. You do this grafting of these things, and I'm always so impressed that you were able to do this.
Andrew says you wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah.
So here's the appearance of
Yay,
Jordan
our
and
troopers.
AJ's are
Oh, Jordan
And
Michael
Raymond.
and hey,
And
look at
Cole.
that, Cody
Yeah,
is
Cody.
the general. Take a drink every time he says "damn it."
again. I cannot express to you my adoration for Cody Smith. Cody Smith is one of our local treasures, and someday the whole world look at him. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
He's done
Any
numerous,
comments about physical comedy I
episodes.
may have done? Cody outshines me a
Well,
lot.
he's done numerous episodes of the Panel Jumper Live, different plays, and I'm really, really happy that we finally got an opportunity to put him in a web episode.
I don't know who Shifty Eye Dog on YouTube is, but I'm assuming that's Cody because
That's Cody.
Cody says
That's Cody.
Cody is a hack.
Of course,
No, he's
Cody would
not.
say
He's
such a
kind
thing.
of brilliant.
Cody knows how to chew the scenery.
Oh, let's talk about
Cody
let's
was
talk
also-
about the car, Ben.
okay, so
Oh
the
yeah.
car.
Oh yeah. Okay. Right.
Let's talk about the car.
The car belongs to
Tom
a
Stewart.
friend of the show,
Yeah.
Tom Stewart. It's in a tarp garage
At the
in his
time,
backyard.
it was broken down. Yeah.
It doesn't move. And the A pillar, which is the silver part you see in the foreground there, looks funny because you could actually see a reflection of the camera in that because it's nice and beautiful in chrome. It's
Right.
shiny in chrome. So I had to do some magic. And I want to point out that so Cole's supposed to be at a drive-in.
Right,
And so
the
so
drive-in
Tom's
radio?
like, oh, you guys are at a drive-in? I think I might have something. He walks into his house. 5 minutes later, he walks out with that speaker that hangs on
I
a car
assumed that
window.
you had edited that in.
No, that's
That's
Tom
part
had
of
that.
Tom's collection.
Oh, well done,
Also,
Tom. Well
going
done.
back to the EC Comics episode, Tom loaned us that radio.
Yeah. You mentioned that.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All
So
right. But
so
the
it's
Tom. Yeah, go ahead.
it's a convertible
It's
Mustang,
a beautiful car.
mid to late 60s. I don't remember exactly what year it is. After AJ saw this episode, AJ Epstein, who is, he's a producer, he owns West of Lennon, he produces the Panel Jumper Live show, what would you call him? He's
In what capacity?
for the Panel Jumper Live.
He's a co-producer because
Co-producer.
the live show was his idea.
I don't want to downplay his importance to the
Not at
show,
all, not at all.
but I see the next time I see him after he's watched this episode, he's like, I also have a convertible Mustang.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, well,
Well, we can use a pair of them.
And
some
also
way.
here's
something I need too.
and also here's Stacy Bush, who is one of my favorite people in the whole world. And for a long time, she'd ask, "Can I be in an episode?" And Stacy was still in recovery from heart surgery. She'd had a blood clot.
Wow,
Oh,
rock
that's right.
star.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I wanted to have her in the episode, and she did a brilliant job. Fantasia Rose did the costumes, and of course we have all these different body types, including Cody Smith, and Fantasia Rose did a great job. And
So-
bye Ray.
Well, see, there's supposed to be a big monster out front, but you
Yeah.
can still see the cars go by.
Oh, who
I worked.
cares?
I worked maybe
I know,
for like
buddy,
10
you did
minutes
the
to get rid of
best.
the
You did the
cars
best
in the
you could.
background, but didn't work.
Between 1958
Oh, and this
This
is
is
at
my
Cole's
apartment.
and we have
Cole's apartment.
we actually
Actual, all of
have-
his toys.
we have a promo for this episode where Cole's
of his
cat,
collectibles.
Mister
Yep.
walked in front of the camera.
Yep. He was perfect.
Garganto, Goom, and Magoom, son of Goom. The Atlas monster titles were a terribly formulaic fare.
Yeah, that's my home. That's what it looks like.
Those are all your toys.
Those are all my toys.
Broad
And-
Bignagian.
Yeah. Because Ben didn't know the
those
name.
pop-ups.
I
definitions.
what's
Yeah,
that?
that's the first time we've seen the pop-up definition of a word
For a
since episode
long-
It's been a
1.
long time. I'd never heard that word before I read it in the script.
Yep.
And I'm like, what does
And
this
I'm
word
wearing
mean?
this awesome Bing Bang Boom T-shirt, a la Jurassic Park logo.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
there's my Bing Bang Boom.
I'm sh-
Yeah, Mister is like off camera. He's in everybody's business.
So here's our MST3K homage.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not gonna say it's a ripoff.
No.
Another instance of Cole sitting in the seats at Annex Theater.
It's all well and good.
Yeah.
Nuclear radiation was a magical catalyst that could revive.
But some of the monsters that we mentioned, like Yongari and some of the other kaiju, you can find on Netflix that MST3K have watched.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Yongari and Gorgo maybe on MST3K on Netflix.
Oh, we totally. I had it. No. Oh, here it is. Here it is. It's my favorite line. I think. Oh no, I think it was from earlier, but it was about the Mopop EMP.
Oh
thing.
yeah. She said, it's that mom. It stepped on the EMP. It's called
It's
Mopop
Mopop
now.
now. It's just a beautiful Seattle throwaway.
only
It's
relevant
wonderful.
to
like,
us
there's
here.
a giant monster stomping all over the city, and you're concerned about what a building is called.
Yeah, I just fucking love that. It's so Seattle.
I really
Also,
love this
this is
shot.
the point in the show where I'm running out of ideas on where to put Cole. So this is his TED talk.
Seriously?
Nice.
That's the TED talk background.
That grim Cold War earnestness was far too weighty to float the genre. And films like Godzilla vs. King Kong,
But I think it
Monster,
works.
and Mothra presented audiences
Yeah, I had a few comments coming up
that included moments
toward the
of
end of this
slapstick
here,
mugging on par with the
which I
Three
thought were
Stooges.
pretty
This
hilarious
rough
moments for me.
ecology keep the
What
kaiju
up?
genre aloft and inspire its continued evolution. In
Oh, I'll wait till we get there. We're almost there. So, but
All right, so the original Godzilla comic, I'd never read it before this moment, but he looks so cute. Look at him. He's
does.
sleeping on a
Sleeping
rock.
on a rock.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I like the way he I like the way he goes gra.
Not so cute there.
Oh, and also there's a grammatical error in one of the panels we show up here.
No.
Those don't happen in comics, Ben.
I know it doesn't happen in comics at all.
No.
When Godzilla is facing off against J. Jonah Jameson in a skyrise, there's a J. He does a wrong instance of your. You're messing with J. Jonah Jameson here.
Oh, you're right. There it is. Well done, grammar nerd.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Do we have Stan Lee to blame for that?
No. No, I think he may have been out of the office at that point.
Damn it, man, we don't have time for that. Get out there.
What am I doing again?
Talk to it.
Why me?
I think this is one. I don't know if what you were talking about when you said one of your favorite acting moments, but I like this when you're facing off against
Oh, yeah.
Cody.
Yep.
There's my car.
Yeah, this moment here was one that you were
really-
trying to cut, actually.
There were a lot of issues around this, and I really liked this moment. A lot.
Yeah, you didn't want to include this Harry and the Hendersons homage reference.
You did.
Oh,
I wanted to conclude it. Ben wanted to cut it.
I had no issues with it.
No, Ben wanted to cut it. And I'm like, no, it's Harry and the
You
Hendersons.
guys
It's
are
too perfect.
misremembering.
I remember.
I'm not misremembering shit, Cole.
Andrew wrote the
Here it
Harry
is.
and the Hendersons moment into it.
Yeah,
I was
Andrew
the
wrote
one
it.
who cut it down,
Yeah,
Okay.
Can't you see we don't want
but it's in there, and I blur
Yeah.
up my license plate.
we kept it. Oh, you blurred your license. That's probably a good plan.
Yeah, but the license plate
I don't,
through the window.
Like,
you
I
can
don't
see.
remember, but honestly, at this point in the process, I am letting go of a lot of things. So, I
Oh,
just
Cole made this nail
I made the
prop.
big nail. That's
Yeah,
right.
then I go pull out of the
Against a
monster's
really
foot.
big, stupid, fake kaiju monster
No,
foot.
it's perfect. It's perfect. And blood spurt.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's actually me going. And then affecting.
So if you guys want, if
Andrew
anybody
Cleese.
wants to buy the nail and
we
support
should put
us,
together an Etsy shop for all the panel jumper props.
Right?
that we
plan
made.
on this. If you want to buy the nail, I have it in my apartment, and you can buy it and support us on Patreon.
Yeah, this
I was very proud of that prop.
this was
that
only
was a pretty cool
I
prop.
believe this was only just like a year ago.
Here we
I
go.
know. So because of this episode, I started reading
Yeah, yeah.
Kaiju Max,
Yeah,
and I really enjoy it.
it's a brilliant comic book.
My only complaint is that the font size is so small.
For the comic or
For the
this?
for the comic, not this. I can read this because it's blown up on the screen, but like when you're reading the comic, yeah, it's just I'm old and my eyes are not what they used to be. That's basically what I'm saying.
Please.
Chris says Kaiju Max is best. Kaiju Max is best, and I believe him.
Sometimes I try to reach out to the people that we talk about in these episodes, and the gentleman that created Kaiju Max.
Oh,
really
I love this sound effect that you threw in here, Ben, on Cody's exit.
Oh, the eagle.
The eagle cracks me up every time.
You don't know my name, do you? I do not.
So,
Anyway, go on.
Awkward pause. Anyway,
Casey is wearing a T-shirt of a web series that never saw the light of day.
Oh, that's cool.
And,
All right.
Yeah.
keep going.
No, you keep going.
All right, I'm just gonna say this is the end of our penultimate episode. We're getting onto our last episode of the evening.
Oh my goodness.
So I know it feels like it's gone by lickety split,
It has.
even though we've been doing this for 118 minutes.
Holy mollies. All right.
So I just want to give you guys a warning.
To go pee?
Thank you,
No,
warning.
no, that we're almost done.
We are almost done.
That we're almost done.
Okay.
Thank you all for listening and for watching.
Yep.
Thank you for sticking with us. And we have one episode left after this one ends.
Oh my goodness.
I love the end credit bit that the live audience may have missed between the reporter folks, because that was totally like improv on
That's
set.
It's another
Yeah.
instance where people
This scene
are
coming up
clapping.
here. Yeah,
Oh my God.
here it is.
What's this gonna do for traffic?
Yep.
I'm thinking that it's going to put a severe pressure on the viaduct, possibly closing it.
Isis King is brilliant.
Plan your routes, people. Plan your routes.
That was. I'm so glad that got caught on film.
Yeah, they did so many improv moments. Okay.
All right, Comics Cauldron.
Oh yeah.
I wish you could pause this. I gotta pee.
There was my original idea when Cole told me that he and Andrew were going to write about Jordan Michael Whitby, who is the manager of Comics Cauldron, to actually film it in Comics Dungeon like
then
we
flip
did,
it, right?
but flip it
Yeah.
so it's reversed, it's mirrored. But then I started thinking about everything we would have to do production design wise to flip all the text like that.
Oh,
The
the text
screen
would
we
be
just
backwards.
saw, the text would be
Yeah.
backwards. So we would
Oh.
have, just out of sheer laziness, we didn't do that. So it looks the same. But I was happy that we were able to find this role for Jordan because we had him in 2 other episodes, but he had no speaking lines.
Yeah.
We have such mutual respect for
And
each other.
I'm glad that we got to like flesh out the world of comic book store managers in this particular Panel Jumper universe.
Yeah.
And like they're all beleaguered
Yeah.
and like treated poorly.
And it's like Cole says, it's world building. We're
Yeah.
building this world of the Panel Jumper, and Comics Cauldron is the sister store to Comics Dungeon. And so
Yeah.
there's Cole and co-writer Andrew Lee Creech. I actually just interviewed Andrew for a completely different project just this morning.
Oh, that's funny.
Hey Andrew, you were listening at one point. I don't know if you're still with us. Listen,
Yes.
I'm too much into the podcast mode.
So Andrew
Troy
was
Len popped on. Nice.
really keyed into how I always wear a different T-shirt that's thematically connected to every episode, and he got. You can't see it very well because we're both.
You see
wearing-
it great in some other shots though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
That's
got
Corey,
a
yeah.
custom T-shirt of Wonder Woman's African sister, Amazonia. Andrew, correct me.
He saw tremendous potential in comics to spread positive images.
Andrew's still here, so
Is he? Okay,
yeah,
great.
he's watching. So we have Rob Billups and Corey Spruill
Yep.
as
Yeah.
Drawn in part by younger
So when I started putting this episode together,
Odd note:
I,
Corey was in the Wojciech play that I was in several
right.
episodes ago.
So when I
Random
started putting this episode together, I knew I wanted to work with Andrew on something. When Black Panther had such a profound impact on popular consciousness, people started asking me, when are you going to do an episode on Black Panther? And I'm like, well, I don't feel that I can do it as a privileged white male. I don't feel I can do it by myself. I don't feel like I'm the person to do that. And Andrew and I have been pals for many, many years, and we're also fellow geeks. So I approached him about co-writing this episode with me, and I'm going to stroke myself a bit and say that was a wise call.
No, I think it was a very wise call. Andrew says on the comments that Corey and he played Milli Vanilli in a play, so this was a reunion. Fun
that's
fact,
right.
I
That's right.
auditioned for that show.
Yeah, why?
Manili Vanilli one?
And
I'm not to be part of Manili.
I can't remember.
Milli Vanilli.
Andrew, did Rebecca Davis direct that?
No,
or did
Ed
she
Hawkins directed
Okay,
it,
well,
which is
but
why
it was-
I auditioned.
But Becca Davis produced it.
Okay, anyway.
Anyway, so Andrew and I turned in an episode to Ben that was triple the length of what we usually produce, because we were having a terrible, terrible time cutting. And Ben whittled it away. What's that?
Nothing. Keep going. Go ahead.
And Ben had some solutions to how to deal with all the material that we had to excise. And at one point I just said to Andrew, you know what, buddy? I love working with you. You're very dear to me, and let's just keep doing these episodes together. Let's talk about black representation in comics. And, at some point, if you want to do an episode that you just take over, that's fine, too.
Yeah,
There
because
you
you
go.
did deliver 2 different episodes.
Here's my only other variation on a costume so far that sticks with the theme.
Yep, because you have the robe.
Robe and pajama pants.
So when I was in the restroom, you talked about
Here was
creating
this
the-
handshake, by the way. You requested that me and Jordan come up with a special comic
you
book store
did.
manager handshake. And funny thing is, Jordan and I were in a show together a year previous to this
right.
where we created one already.
Was
so
that it?
That was it.
Fun.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to do anything hard.
Nope. It was like, oh, you want us to have a special handshake? Great, no problem. We've already got it.
All right, Cole, what were you going to say?
Well,
Continue.
just to talk about the world building in the
Yes.
panel jumper reality is that, I think when I was in the restroom for the third time,
For the
you
fourth
bite me. You
Bite
did.
me, it's fun.
You did talk about how this is the sister store or the.
Yeah, the sister store. It's like on the other side of town.
Right,
and it's-
right.
I wanted it to be reversed, but I didn't want to put that much effort into the production design because we would have to create fake copies for all the comic books that are printed backwards.
So and I think between the two of us, Andrew and I are going to figure out how to kind of dictate this world going forward. This is all the stuff you're seeing right here. This is all Andrew's contribution. And Ben's brilliant editing, but this is all Andrew's storytelling here.
I was actually working, interestingly enough, I was working on a documentary of the play "Don't Call It a Riot" at this
That's
very
right,
same
that's right.
at this very same time, which is about the Seattle area Black Panthers, and so these my 2 different worlds kind of collided for me back in September, October of 2019.
I loved working with Andrew, and I loved. Look at the two of us.
So great. I love it.
A man called Luke Cage. Created in 1972 by Archie Goodwin, Roy Thomas, and John Romita Sr., Luke Cage's attire gave off unnerving
One of the
echoes
brilliant
slavery.
things about
And
Andrew
thanks
Lee
to his
Creech
cringeworthy
is that
catchphrase,
when we're working
"Soon
together, he
Christmas,"
says,
Luke
when I
Cage went
have,
full-on
when he
versus
has issues with whatever I'm talking about, he says, I challenge you.
Cole,
I challenge you. Consider this. Cole, I challenge you. Yep. And bless you if you have a person in your life who looks you in the eye and says, I challenge you. Without animosity, with love in their heart,
Luke Cage was
and
revamped in 1992.
asks you wholeheartedly, consider this. And that's why I want to work with Andrew as a friend, as a compadre, and as a collaborator going forward.
Thereby tearing himself away from his blaxploitation roots.
And not just that, he's good people. I really enjoy Andrew's company.
He's totally good people.
But the man with impenetrable skin and super
So I am wearing a Static Shock T-shirt, which kind of like bugged Andrew because he wanted to get that T-shirt, but I beat him to it. So he got the Amazon.
You both could have
T-shirt.
worn the same T-shirt. I wouldn't have cared.
No, that's silly. We're two individuals who are too obsessed with our own individuality. Anyway, so Jordan Michael runs the Comics Cauldron, and I would like to create a reality going forward where Jordan Michael is that guy in this story.
Oh, I love this.
Little
Yeah.
anecdote here is that portfolio that has Orrin C. Evans' artwork in it is my mom's portfolio from when she was in college in the 40s. And here comes Bob Williams.
My line was like 3 times, was 2.5 lines long, and like Bob was just like, "No, I'm cutting him off right away." I'm like,
Of
"Yeah,
course,
that's fair."
Because, shut you up.
Bob is one of my favorite human beings and also one of my favorite actors in Seattle.
I love Bob.
And I was so happy that he said yes. I love this shot, Ben. I love this shot so much.
I took out a lot in editing just basically for the sake of time, but he's supposed to go into this sort of like Holmesian mind palace where he like throws his eyes back and he goes into a trance. So it just slowed everything down too much. So it was the conceit is it like he remembers.
I love Jordan's look on his face right now.
But that thank you card was shot when Cole and I went to the comic book store like the next time to record the Perfect Bound podcast. Border Town Creature 421 says more Static Shock for 2020.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Of putting black superheroes into the hands of actual black creators and storytellers. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's
Static
step back
Shock.
to the early 1990s and discuss
The whole episode is
milestone
fantastic.
media.
He does clip.
During a period of unprecedented prosperity in the industry, Milestone, originally owned
Yeah,
and
this is
overseen by Dwayne
is
McDuffie,
another one of those. I wish I'd done something with Dwayne McDuffie's image because it just looks like it ends at his top of his
Hey,
head.
buddy, you'll have a chance with the next episode.
Their branding says
'Cause
it
I talk
all.
about Dwayne
Even
in the
from
next
four-headed
episode.
titles, Icon, Hardware, Static, and Blood Syndicate established a
So
shared
yeah, there was
universe of urban
one.
superheroes.
Though emphasis was placed on black
This is
protagonists,
all done on green screen, of course. If anybody cares about the technical filmmaking.
It's part of what commentaries talk about, right?
It's part of it. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Cat's Meow. It's directed by Peter Bogdanovich, and it stars Eddie Izzard as Charlie Chaplin.
No.
Oh,
what?
wow.
What?
Eddie Izzard?
It's actually a really great movie.
Never
and,
heard of it.
Peter Bogdanovich does a commentary throughout the entire thing on basically the technical filmmaking of the movie. And I watched it before I got
There it
seriously
is.
into
Static
this,
Shock.
and I thought it was so effing boring.
Oh.
And I left that DVD behind when I moved out of my house, and I wish I still had it because I probably
Nowadays,
really
you're like,
appreciate it these days. He talked about the types of lenses that he was using, and yeah, you can find terrible instances of blackface on YouTube
Yeah,
I don't
bet.
want
that
to.
just make you cringe. And
don't
I
want
found
to.
some, recorded it, and like
Marvel's all-new
wasn't gonna
This
show
is
it
one
to
of,
the
my
audience.
one of my favorite bits because Andrew wrote that where we were trying to put on
Trade
each
shoes?
other's shoes.
I actually cut that out of the first draft, and
Yeah,
they put,
you
or
did,
the second
and I
draft,
fought
and they
you
put it
for
back
it.
in.
I did.
The constant wars between the writers and the director.
We have kind of reached a steady state in how we negotiate what we want to keep, what we want to take. But every once in a while, I'm like, no, I'm gonna wrestle you for this, Ben.
No, I'm fine. I mean, I'll take stuff out. Nothing's personal, but if you want to put
Ben
something
does
back
a
in,
really
that's fine.
brilliant job of cutting the fat out of stuff. I love. This is one of my favorite moments of this episode.
That's why I lost so much weight, because he kept trying to cut me.
Well, I make you fall off of ladders with a back injury. And yes, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I
Oh,
love this.
fucking
And this was
amazing
all,
movie.
This was all Andrew's contribution. His passion about Into the Spider-Verse was really important here.
I didn't actually mention that when this
Hey.
premiered, and nobody cares, but this
I do.
we premiered this at the Panel Jumper Live.
Ben
Chapter
says
8.
something here. You actually have a voice there.
Oh yeah, I say, hey guys.
Yeah.
Well, when they were saying, hey, Chapter 8 on September 27th, 2019.
pandering,
And,
but often nothing new to a particular character or canon.
Yeah, and this is our last episode. We're almost at the end, friends. Thank you so much for sticking around with us.
I like this part here where coming up. Oh, there's the return of the actors.
The image of that pig is actually my friend Tiffany Diamond's pig Burgess, and I asked her if I could use an image of Burgess
And can
because
we just talk about how photogenic Isis King? Jesus
There's a lot of people that are good at this. So.
Hush. I just want to talk about ISIS.
I didn't actually move them apart from each other. That is actually Oren C. Evans.
Yes, it is.
In a past life, I would probably have put our actor as Oren C. Evans.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted to respect him.
I really like that you chose to use his picture.
Yeah.
Andrew and I had a terrible time about how we were going to do all these scenes. And
it may not matter.
No, Andrew, I want to know.
yeah,
I like
Case in
this
point.
moment.
Yeah.
I like that moment. Settle. I said it to my dog Thalia at my house all the time.
Oh, she's your dog.
No, don't. I knew that was going to come up. If Rolando hears this, he's going to instantly get his hackles up. It's
Thalia,
Rolando's
she's a
dog.
wonderful
But yeah,
pup.
the dog at my house.
Yeah.
I tell her to settle frequently in the same tone.
And
No, I didn't mean to imply anything, Cole. I'm sorry.
I'm listening to Andrew.
Andrew and Webster and Jordan did a wonderful job of making sure that there were comics in the background that were appropriate. There was more production design in this episode than we normally do. And yeah,
I didn't notice. I never noticed he had the black power fist in the back.
the black. Oh yeah, of course. What do you mean you didn't notice? Do
No,
you
I
not
never
watch this
did.
show,
I never
sir?
noticed.
And that's,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
using a gimbal,
What
and
happened there?
I was using a gimbal, and the gimbal died because I didn't calibrate it properly. Well, friends,
Are we at the end?
We're at the end.
we are at the end.
How about that?
And I'm gonna just move us back to the main camera. Thank you so much for watching.
Really?
That is
Yeah.
the show.
If you endured this at the ever lasting
if
end.
you've been with us this entire
got
time,
a
thank
few
you
people
so
hanging around.
much. I hope you were able to like have some dinner or whatnot, get comfortable.
Oh yeah, hi Fantasia. Apparently she's been listening. So
She's-
yeah.
so glad.
Pops in and out, as Andrew says. You can find all the stuff that we do, everything you've just watched. If this is your first time watching some of these episodes, I don't know why you endure that, but you can find them
Thanks for
free
sticking
and
around.
clear without our commentary at thepaneljumper.com. We did have a podcast called perfectboundpodcast.com. We have to take a hiatus because of the world got turned upside down and we're just not able to do that anymore. But we do have 5+ years worth of stuff. And
touted as the 11th best web series, or excuse me, podcast in Seattle.
Yeah, from City Arts Magazine. Thank you, Travis.
Yeah, the long defunct City Arts Magazine.
So this is not what we're doing. We did this because we wanted to do it. We thought it was going to be fun.
Yep.
It was.
But if you want to support some organizations that we appreciate, give to. There's a GoFundMe for Comics Dungeon and
Yes, totally.
Corner Comics.
Yeah.
Employee payroll fund. All of this can be found at our Facebook page, and which means I'm going to put it up on our Facebook page later on. It's a GoFundMe to make sure that the friends that we've made in our business partners get paid during this horrible time. AnnexTheater.org, which is where we are, is like many theaters that we have to be dark during this time because you'll notice normally we'd be sitting next to each other, but we have to be we are CDC required to be 6 feet apart from each other.
And Mike and I are huggers. Ben's not. So
Not really.
This is really painful.
Yeah, this is rough, man.
So go to AnnexTheater.org to give to Annex Theater.
Sign up and be a Patreon member. That helps too.
So the Panel Jumper does have a Patreon account, patreon.com/thepaneljumper. Are there any other organizations we want to promote while we're here and we have people's attention?
Oh, I mean, so many, but related to what we're doing right now. I mean,
You cut me off guard, buddy.
Annex Theater also has a Patreon.
Ben and I and AJ Epstein are also working out how we can do the Panel Jumper live streaming. And please stay tuned. Visit if you have not already liked the Panel Jumper Facebook page, please do so. But we had scheduled a Panel Jumper Live cabaret show on May 8th, and of course, that's been canceled due to the pandemic. But we're in the process of figuring out how we can do that streaming. This is one of our first efforts, or is our first effort to stream. And we're going forward. We're trying to figure out how we can make art that is accessible for everybody during these trying times.
Yeah. So if you have any thoughts or tips on that, by all means, chip in, send us a message. That'll help.
Yep. So AJ Epstein, myself, and Ben Laurance are figuring out how we can take the live acts that we had booked for the May 8th show and bring them to you. So that's something that is keeping us alive right now.
Yeah. So thank you all for watching.
Totally.
And good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.